Reborn as his archenemy's descendant, the Demon King faced a cruel, ironic twist of fate. His own deathbed curse was now haunting his new life in the most devastating way. He remembered being the supreme Demon King, humiliated by hero Lacan in his past life. He had cursed Lacan's bloodline to never find peace. Now he's suffering for his own malice. Despite owning a grand castle, he's currently drowning in debt and surrounded by absolute ruin. The roof leaks, floors are flooded, and debt collectors harass him from morning till night. His only assets are 3 massive Gundams, powerful golems that creditors are desperate to seize. Xian realized these mechanical weapons were far superior to any golem he once commanded before. He didn't care about the loss until they targeted his sacred, hidden magic tower nearby. Murderous rage ignited as memories of a forbidden, tragic past suddenly flooded back into him. That tower was the only place he swore no one would ever touch or desecrate. Long ago, Xian was just a gentle mage, deeply in love with the maid, Katarina. They would hide on the rooftop together, dreaming of a future inside that very castle. He promised to buy it for her once his research made him a master mage. His revolutionary golem thesis promised eternal happiness, but his mentor stole everything from him. Thrown into a dungeon, he was forced to make friends with the filth and rats. His world shattered when guards revealed that Katarina took her life to escape a noble. Their mocking laughter was the final spark that ignited the Demon King's soul within him. He bit his finger until it bled, swearing a path of blood in Katarina's name. The air turned cold as the cellar rats suddenly went silent in a chilling terror. A panicked guard speared a rat, but a glowing demonic seal erupted from its corpse. Xian used his own blood to draw a forbidden, hellish ritual circle across the floor. "Stop this madness," they screamed, but the gears of destruction were already set in motion. "If I were stronger, you'd still be here," he roared, unleashing his boiling, dark hatred. Every rat was consumed by the magic, fueling the birth of a mechanical nightmare below. A violent explosion leveled the cell, revealing a colossal rat golem looming behind a vengeful Xian. With one brutal swing, the monster shredded the guards, starting his bloody path of revenge. Escorted by his mechanical army, the Demon King marched out to destroy this cursed world. He cornered the treacherous elder, who trembled at the sight of such dark, forbidden power. Even the duke who drove Katarina to suicide begged for mercy like a pathetic dog. Xian's eyes were cold. "Anything, then bring her back. Can you resurrect the dead?" He flicked his hand, releasing a burst of mana that turned his enemies into dust. "I will burn this world to ashes," he vowed, standing amidst his enemies' ruined remains. The king bestowed the holy sword upon hero Lacan to stop the encroaching, dark nightmare. "Save us!" the nations cried, as the Demon King's army left only ruin behind them. 2 kingdoms had already fallen, leaving the fate of the entire world on Lacan's shoulders. Why am I still alive? Perhaps because this cursed world must finally pay the price. He tracked down the elder who stole his life, and love with cold, calculated fury. The old man accused him of selling his soul to the devil for dark magic. The duke whimpered, offering anything to stay alive, but Xian had no mercy left. A wave of mana obliterated them both, a cruel end for their even crueler sins. The world took everything from him, so he would take everything from the world. Desperate, the king turned to his strongest champion to end the rising demonic threat. Hero Lacan took up the blade, unaware he was facing his own ancestors' vengeful spirit. The stage is set for a final clash that will determine the fate of humanity. Hero Lacan faced his ultimate mission: slay the Demon King and save humanity. Tension filled the battlefield. The final clash arrived. Lacan's army stood ready, bracing for the collision with the King of Shadows. Xiang summoned massive golems with dark magic, paralyzing the soldiers with pure, soul-crushing terror. Refusing to let Xiang win, Lacan lunged forward. His blade unleashed a brilliant arc of light, severing steel. The hero's expression hardened. He finally understood. This monster was the only wall blocking the capital. Chaos erupted. The ground vanished beneath mountains of corpses and shattered golem remains. It was hell. Lakan's relentless assault continued until Xiang's final guardian crumbled into worthless dust. The end was near. Surrounded by ruins, Xiang realized he had lost. In a voice dripping with despair, he whispered, "The world is rotten. Without you, I could have rebuilt everything from the ashes of destruction." Fueled by blinding rage, Xiang spat a final curse. "Your entire bloodline shall suffer for eternity." Lakan's sword fell, ending the Demon King. Xiang's consciousness vanished into the cold, silent abyss. After an eternity, Xiang woke up screaming. The pain felt real, yet the nightmare seemed over. An elderly butler rushed in, weeping with joy. "Young master, I feared we'd lose the last Lakan." Xiang froze. His body was different, frail, pathetic, and completely devoid of even a drop of mana. The butler explained the impossible. Xiang was now the heir to the noble house of Lakan. 500 years had passed since the Demon King's death. He had reincarnated as his enemy's grandson. Desperate for the truth, he sprinted outside. He threw open the balcony doors and gasped. Standing tall in the sunlight was a giant, a massive mechanical golem reaching dozens of meters high. Butler Han explained it was a magic tech giant. Unlike old golems, a pilot controlled it from inside. It was a masterpiece of science and sorcery. Xiang's eyes gleamed with newfound, dark curiosity. Inside, the pilot was invincible and faster than any remote-controlled golem. It was the perfect weapon. This machine solved every flaw from his past life. Xiang decided to burn the Lakan fortune on research. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck his chest, forcing him to his knees. Han cried out in panic. "The curse! Because your ancestor defeated the Demon King, his descendants are doomed to suffer." Xiang's mind went blank. He remembered his final words. He had literally cursed his own current body. Han spoke of a glorious past, but warned that the Demon King's dark power might soon return. As a Lakan descendant, Xiang was expected to risk his life to protect the world again. Xiang slammed the history book shut, disgusted by the lies written by some nameless, foolish author. He never intended to curse innocent people, yet their twisted beliefs had turned his words into reality. Doubt gnawed at him, but he accepted the blame. He had let things spiral out of control. He grabbed another book, determined to learn everything about the 500 years he had missed. This was a second chance. He couldn't face 𝒁𝒂𝒏 like this. The world had evolved significantly. If his old subordinates still lived, they could help him reshape this world. Hope flared within him. But by the next morning, Xiang was drowning his frustrations in alcohol, trying to escape his weakness. Finding no trace of his past life left him bitter. He collapsed under the weight of time. 500 years had erased him. He was just a frail boy with no magic and no legacy. 𝒁𝒂𝒏, he screamed in despair, only to be interrupted by a loud, vulgar shouting match outside. A greedy merchant was demanding 30,000 pesos, a debt the family took to develop their mines. Han tried to negotiate, but the situation was crumbling. The household was on the brink of ruin. Xiang let out a hollow laugh at the absurdity. Everything was a complete and utter mess. The merchant, Darren, offered a sinister deal. "Keep your giants. I want the magic tower instead." Xiang's heart stopped. The magic tower was the home he had once shared with his beloved 𝒁𝒂𝒏. A murderous rage boiled over. How dare this commoner think he could claim Xiang's sacred sanctuary? "That is my home," he roared. "In 15 days I will pay everything back. Now get out." The Demon King's overwhelming aura exploded. The merchants turned pale, trembling before his sudden, terrifying majesty. Faced with power, Darren retreated, spitting out empty, arrogant threats as he fled. "Let's see if you keep your word," Darren sneered. Xiang sighed at his predictable antics. Captain Roger was moved to tears, seeing his young master finally stand for family pride. That scum merchant was speechless. "Your strength reminds us of the legendary hero Lakan." They saw a hero's spirit, but Xiang only felt a growing, dark irritation. Xian grumbled inwardly. These fools were turning him back into a demon king again. Back at the library, Xian realized the truth. This family was beyond poor, they were destitute. Infrastructure was ruined, and food was scarce. Was this really a legendary hero's bloodline? Did you all steal the family fortune? Xian demanded. Han immediately turned pale. We would never, Han cried. The family history explains everything if you look closely. After Lacan defeated the Demon King, he was granted a vast dukedom in the south. But when 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆𝒅 rebelled, Lacan chose justice over the crown and fought back. He failed due to the Demon King's curse and was stripped of his title. Exiled to the border, the hero lived in disgrace until his final, lonely breath. Xian realized this estate wasn't a reward. It was a prison for the banished. Why is our treasury empty? Xian asked. Han's face darkened with centuries of grief. Ancestors spent everything to reclaim their glory, but the curse made every effort futile. The hero's legacy had crumbled. The once great house was now a hollow, broken shell. You even collapsed from overworking to prove your worth, Han reminded him sadly. Xian stared out the window. So, we are truly at a dead end, aren't we? I failed as a butler, Han bowed, but I will find a way to survive. Xian smirked. Don't worry, I've just thought of a much faster way to profit. That wicked smile sent chills down Han's spine. His bad feeling was soon proven right. The next morning, chaos erupted. The bronze statue of Hero Lacan had completely vanished. The family's spiritual pillar was gone. Captain Roger collapsed in pure, unadulterated shock. This must be a nightmare, Roger wailed. He couldn't believe the ancestral pillar disappeared. Han tried to calm himself, but finding the young master was now the priority. He frantically searched the grounds, praying the young master hadn't done something reckless. A soldier ran up panting. Sir, the young master. He's gone while we were distracted. He escaped during the security breach. Han's strength left him at the news. He slumped to the ground. What kind of crazy scheme is he pulling now? Meanwhile, Xian was casually hauling the massive bronze statue onto a horse carriage. The driver, a nervous young man, seemed deeply troubled by the strange cargo. He turned to Xian. Young master, may I ask you something before we go? Xian took a long swig of wine. Sure, but first, who exactly are you? The boy's face fell. I'm Philip, your personal knight. How could you forget me? Philip hesitated. Are you truly going to sell the statue of our great ancestor? Of course, Xian replied. It'll fetch a high price, even more if we melt it. Philip turned pale. But this statue has 500 years of sacred history. Xian glared at him. Can 500 years of history fill my empty stomach? But selling this won't even cover our debts, Philip argued in a panic. Xian sighed. Selling the statue was merely the first step in his grand plan. Philip's eyes lit up. So you have a deeper, secret strategy for our revival. Xian's grin turned predatory. My plan is simple. Take the cash and go gambling. I'll turn this scrap metal into 30,000 gold. Xian's declaration stunned the knight. Philip froze in shock. It took him 2 full seconds to scream, gambling. If you lose everything, we're dead. Xian's eyes narrowed with cold irritation. Why must you lecture me constantly? It is becoming quite tiresome. Philip continued to howl in protest. You dragged me out at dawn. I never agreed to this madness. His face turned a ghostly shade of pale. He realized he was now an official accomplice to a crime. If Butler Han's men discovered he helped the young master sell the family statue, his head would roll. Trembling, Philip pleaded, Can't we just turn back and beg for mercy? We can make a new plan. Xian's eyes widened in disbelief. Are you an idiot? If I return now, I'd have to explain everything. If I admit I stole it for gambling, they'll never forgive me. I'd be exiled from this house forever. Wait, really? Philip gasped. Xian suddenly let out a dark, mocking laugh that sent chills down his spine. Actually, no. I am the young master. You are the only one who would be thrown to the streets. Xian stared at him with a predatory smirk. Philip shivered, knowing the young master spoke the brutal truth. Xian laughed at his terror. Think carefully, Philip. Which fate sounds better for a man like you? Do you want to be a penniless beggar or a hero who brings glory to the family? Decide now. He locked eyes with Philip, his gaze radiating a sinister pressure while he waited for an answer. Left with no choice, Philip lowered his head and nodded. He had officially surrendered to his dark fate. "I'll follow you," he whispered, sounding utterly defeated. He was stuck on this path to ruin or glory. He looked like a man who had lost his soul. Sion nodded, satisfied. "Good, that is the spirit." While Philip sipped his wine, he watched Sion's calm expression. Inside, he was screaming in pure despair. People said Sion had changed after his coma, but this was something else entirely. Something far more dangerous. He was a monster wearing a human mask. His wicked nature hadn't changed. It had simply evolved. Time flew by. The scene shifted to a crowded pier where an official announced 5 minutes until departure. Philip hesitated at the gangplank, his voice trembling. "Are we truly doing this? Is it too late?" Sion merely shrugged with chilling indifference. That simple, cold gesture made Philip's heart skip a beat in fear. "Fine, forget I asked. Let's just go," Philip blurted out, rushing onto the boat before he collapsed. The departure bell rang, and the ship carried Sion toward the port city of El under a starlit sky. After selling the statue of the hero Lacan, Sion pocketed the gold. Philip, however, was absolutely fuming. "That was the statue of the world's savior," he hissed, "and he only gave us this tiny amount." The buyer snapped back coldly. "I'd be bankrupt if I paid a copper more. Take it or leave." Sion didn't waste time on petty arguments. "Lead the way, Philip. We have a schedule to keep." Philip grumbled under his breath. "We could have squeezed him for more. Why did you stay quiet?" Sion sighed with boredom. "It is enough, this place. It has truly transformed since I last saw it." Philip's eyes went wide with surprise. "Have you actually been here before, young master?" Sion's mind drifted to ancient memories. "Once, but back then the Kraken guarded it. It was a forbidden island." 500 years have passed," Sion whispered. Philip laughed, thinking his master was just telling tall tales. "You're funny, sir. This is the Empire's second-largest city now. Everything has evolved into a concrete jungle." Despite the sea monsters, magic tech and advanced weaponry had turned this port into a bustling, golden metropolis. It was a paradise for gamblers. Philip looked at Sion, his eyes filled with doubt and mounting anxiety. "If I lacked confidence, I never would have set foot here," Sion replied with absolute, arrogant certainty. They stood before a magnificent palace of light. Its golden glow was blinding to the common folk outside. "Time to enter," Sion declared, but Philip's heart was hammering. He couldn't handle the oppressive luxury. "Wait, give me a second," Philip stammered. Sion raised an eyebrow at his friend's pathetic trembling. "How are you so calm? Do you have some secret technique to win every single game?" Sion smirked confidently. "Winning involves luck, but aura is the core of every victory." But reality hit hard. Inside the casino, the cards weren't falling his way. "This isn't going well." "Haha, I win again," a brown-haired man roared, sweeping the gold. "Ready to lose more, kid." Zion waved him off with a cold smirk. "Skill? No, fortune is merely a servant to the truly powerful." The brunette gambler let out a mocking laugh. "How generous. It's an honor to bankrupt such a naive master." "But you're out of gold. Should we end this pathetic tragedy here?" he sneered, eyeing Zion's empty pockets. He looked at Zion's last few coins with utter contempt, but the Demon King's soul knew no surrender. Without a hint of hesitation, Zion turned to Philip. "Exchange everything remaining into coins. We aren't finished yet." Philip's face paled, looking like the bottom of a burnt pot. "Master, if we lose this, it's over." Before he could finish, Zion's roar silenced the room. "I said bring the money, do it now." Across the table, the gambler smirked. He was convinced this foolish, young master had finally lost his mind. "Today is my lucky day," he whispered, watching Zion's desperate rage with a predatory glint in his eyes. With the new coins in hand, Zion threw them all down. "Everything, I bet it all on this hand." Philip collapsed, tears streaming down his face. The Lucan family, it's gone, we are truly ruined. The brunette feigned concern while hiding a venomous grin. Is this wise? One bad turn and you're a beggar. Xian remained stoic. Worrying won't change the cards. Let the fate of this game be decided now. The gambler signaled the dealer girl behind him. Impressive resolve. Then let us witness your ultimate downfall. He flipped his cards with a flourish. 3 8s, a winning set. Victory belongs to me, he bellowed. The goddess of luck is smiling on me today. He reached out to sweep the massive pile of coins. He didn't even bother looking at Xian's hand, acting as if the outcome was already written in stone. But Xian's hand clamped down on his wrist. Wait, the game isn't over until I show my hand. A royal flush. What a curious coincidence, Xian said calmly, revealing the strongest cards in the deck. The room froze in a deathly silence. Xian had pulled off the impossible, crushing the gambler's hope instantly. The man's face turned ghostly white. No, that's impossible. You must have used some kind of trickery. Xian chuckled darkly. Gambling is only fun when it's unpredictable. This was a truly entertaining match, wasn't it? Philip's despair transformed into a flood of joyful tears. I knew it. I always believed in you, master. The gambler slammed the table in a frenzy. You cheated. What black magic did you use to swap cards? Xian's gaze turned sharp as a blade. Trickery, like your subordinates behind me signaling my every move. The brunette froze, his heart skipping a beat. How could this brat have noticed the hidden signals? Xian watched his panic with disdain. These amateurs thought they could trap a king in their web. He had marked the deck from the start, manipulating the very flow of the game with absolute precision. To one who once commanded legions of golems, swapping a few cards was as easy as breathing. I have no more time for bottom feeders, Xian stated. Accept your pathetic defeat and crawl away. Shaking with humiliated rage, the gambler barked a command. Kill him! Teach this brat a lesson in manners. The crowd drew their weapons, eyes burning with murderous intent. The air grew heavy with the scent of blood. Xian didn't flinch. He simply sighed at their predictability. Trash like you always resorts to the same tactics. Even without his former peak mana, these flies were no threat to the Demon King's pride. Come then, he provoked, gathering a spark of raw power within the palm of his right hand. The thugs charged like rabid dogs, but a sudden flash of silver cut through the air before them. Philip moved like a lightning bolt. His blade danced, striking down the first wave of attackers instantly. You dare draw steel against the heir of the Lucan family, Philip roared, his voice echoing with authority. You are trading your miserable lives for a mistake you can never take back. He stood as Xian's shield. Xian turned his icy gaze toward the leader. It was a look that promised a slow and agonizing end. The gambler collapsed, a cold blade pressed against his throat. His bravado vanished into a puddle of fear. Mercy, please have mercy, he stammered, his voice trembling like a leaf in a violent storm. Philip snarled with righteous fury. Silence, scum. You aren't even worthy of being executed by my master. Xian watched the display, realizing Philip had hidden potential. Perhaps this servant wasn't so useless after all. Philip's hidden potential was undeniable, proving he wasn't the useless fool Xian had initially expected. The next morning, Philip gleefully hauled a heavy sack of gold on his back, his voice trembling with pure excitement. This weighs a ton, must be over 10,000 peso. Xian remained calm, his mind already drifting elsewhere. I once dismissed Philip as a mere hoodlum, but his hidden potential far exceeds my wildest expectations. Today's haul wasn't bad, but after causing such a massive uproar, slipping back into the casinos won't be easy. Needing 20,000 more to clear his debt to Durin, Xian knew he had to find a new gold mine. Is there any other place to make a quick fortune besides these gambling dens? Xian inquired, eyes narrowing. Philip racked his brain, scouring his memories for a place where the stakes and the rewards were even higher. Suddenly he gasped, why not try the Colosseum of Giants? Xian tilted his head, intrigued. The giant arena. Realizing his master's amnesia, Philip explained. It's like ancient gladiator pits, but now titanic giants clash for glory. The betting odds shift every match, but play it right and 30,000 peso is easily within reach. Witnessing Sion's godlike power had ignited a fire in Philip's blood. His gambling spirit was roaring to life. Sion smirked inwardly. If this involved golems, he was the undisputed king. This was his home turf. If these giants were fueled by golem sorcery, predicting the victor would be child's play for a grand master. Misinterpreting the silence, Philip boasted, "Trust me, master. I was the top graduate of the Royal Giant Academy." Sion gave a slight nod. "Fair enough. Lead the way to this arena of yours." "You won't regret it, master," Philip chirped, sprinting ahead with a newfound spring in his step. Their momentum stalled as a jagged, venomous roar tore through the air, vibrating with pure, unadulterated malice. "I told you trash to stay in your holes. Do you only listen when your hearts stop beating?" A soldier spat insults, while his heavy boot mercilessly crushed the ribs of children huddled on the dirt. Even Philip paled at the sight. My God, how can anyone be so heartless to mere children? 5 centuries have passed, yet the world's stench remains. Rot only deepens as time crawls forward. Rage boiled in Sion's veins. Suddenly, a thunderous command echoed. "Cease this madness at once." The command cut through the air like a cold blade, forcing the bloodthirsty soldiers to freeze in their tracks. They turned with murderous glares, wondering who possessed the audacity to interrupt their official business. "Are you not royal guards sworn to protect?" A noble lady stepped forth, her presence radiating blinding authority. "How can you cowards prey on innocent children? Are only the highborn worthy of protection in your eyes?" Sion's heart nearly stopped as he glimpsed her face. A name from the distant past surfaced, 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆𝒅. The soldiers recognized her, yet one grumbled, "Princess or not, you cannot defy the Count's direct decree. These refugees are like vermin, spreading fear and filth. We are simply cleaning the streets. Is herding humans like cattle into a wasteland justice?" She fired back, her voice trembling with righteous fury. "These orphans have lost everything. If they have truly sinned, I will be the one to pass judgment. Before I was a princess of Vora, I too was a wanderer seeking a place to call home." Her words were sharp, but the soldiers only groaned, finding her noble ideals a massive headache. "Princess, you're only making life hard for yourself. We're just following orders," the soldier sighed heavily. Philip watched the drama unfold with wide eyes. This is getting intense. Should we even be watching this? Ignoring him, Sion stared intensely at the girl. "Do you know who that woman is?" Philip nodded. "She's Princess Dina of Vora. Her kingdom fell, but she still defies the nobility's expectations." Sion's suspicions hardened. Dina? No. Everything about her screamed 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆𝒅. How could she look exactly the same? As Sion watched, a soldier moved toward Princess Dina, his patience finally wearing thin. A bystander watched the escalating tension with intrigue, asking Sion if the situation was turning volatile. Sion questioned if Philip recognized the mysterious girl. Philip nodded with absolute, unwavering certainty. She was the legendary princess of the VOA kingdom, famous for ignoring the judgmental noble eyes. Despite rumors of her fallen kingdom, seeing Princess Dina here was a truly shocking revelation. Sion gazed at her, his mind racing. Could this be 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆𝒅? She looked exactly the same. Suddenly, a soldier lunged at Dina. Philip moved like a shadow to disorient the veteran Roger. As she reached out to help the refugee children, a guard seized her wrist with a sneer. "Forgive me, Princess Dina, but I can't allow this. We'll be punished if you continue," he barked. He shoved her aside while the other soldier rounded up the poor kids. The princess's fury ignited. "What kind of circus is this?" she screamed, but her interference only pushed the guard's patience too far. Gritting his teeth, he snarled, "Stop annoying us." His roar sent a shiver of terror through Dina. Instinctively, Sion's eyes flared as he lunged at the brute. "Get your filthy hands off her right now." He delivered a crushing blow to the man's face. Like a relentless machine, Sion rained down strikes. Blood sprayed from the guard's nose. Xiang thought. No matter how time passes, trash like this never changes. This scum will always exist. With every powerful punch, his rage echoed through the streets. Teeth flew through the air. Even Princess Dina watched in horror, unable to witness the brutality any longer. She rushed forward, grabbing his arm with trembling hands. "Please stop, this is more than enough," she begged. Xiang paused for a heartbeat, but another guard unsheathed his blade, aiming straight for Xiang's back. "You fool, attacking a royal guard," he growled. "You clearly have no fear of the Emperor's law." But the soldier forgot one thing. Philip was standing right there. With a sharp, mocking grin, he countered. "Is your precious royal law more valuable than a human life?" Philip's voice was cold as ice. He pressed his sword against the guard's throat, a deadly warning that froze the man in his tracks. Forced to retreat, the guard helped his broken comrade away, but not without a final, bitter glare. "You'll pay for this," he hissed. Philip sensed trouble brewing and turned to Xiang with urgency. "We can't miss the Colossus arena. Let's move before the situation spirals out of control." Xiang snapped back to reality and rushed to the princess. "Katarina, are you hurt? Are you okay?" "Forgive me, I lost control. I should have stepped in sooner." The princess looked at him, utterly bewildered. "I am fine, but who exactly are you?" she stammered. Xiang froze, his mind momentarily blank. "What do you mean?" He stepped closer, but Jenna recoiled in panic. "Stay back, don't come near me." Xiang halted immediately, frantically explaining, "Right, I must look different now. Let me explain everything to you." Jenna's guard stayed high. "Don't bother. How are you any different from those violent soldiers?" she challenged. "Besides, you've mistaken me for someone else. My name isn't Katarina, it's Jenna." Seeing his master's strange behavior, Philip rushed in to intervene. "My apologies, princess, he's just confused." "We aren't suspicious people, I swear. He's just going through a very difficult time right now." Philip scratched his head awkwardly, trying to de-escalate as Xiang fought to suppress the turmoil inside. "If only it was really her," Xiang whispered to his soul. "I can't bear this crushing loneliness anymore." Knowing she'd never return, their identical faces made him feel pathetically weak. He couldn't stop staring. Suddenly, a middle-aged man appeared, shouting in a panic. "Jenna, princess, what are you doing here? You have a vital schedule today. Do you have any idea how hard I've been searching for you?" This was Victor, Jenna's butler. She stepped aside, stammering, "Oh, Victor. Well, you see." Victor interrupted, his face sour. "Don't tell me you were picking fights with the guards again." He eyed the two strangers suspiciously. "Who are you? The situation here is quite tense." "It's best if you stay away from the princess," Victor said coldly. Xiang let out a cynical laugh. "How absurd. I may have caused a scene, but didn't I just save her from those thugs?" "I don't expect a reward, but a simple thank you wouldn't hurt." Xiang turned to leave. He decided to walk away. As they vanished from sight, Victor turned back to Jenna. "We should go as well." Jenna nodded, but a pang of regret suddenly hit her heart. "I still haven't thanked him," she thought. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to a massive, circular coliseum. The Colossus arena. Inside, the announcers were working the crowd into a wild, roaring frenzy. "No giant will back down in this blood-pumping battle. Everyone, keep your eyes on the pit." Xiang smirked, his eyes narrowing. Things are finally getting interesting. Suddenly, a massive giant emerged. Adu unleashes a decisive strike, crushing his opponent and ending the match in one blow. The announcer roars in excitement, declaring Adu the undisputed victor of this brutal round. The crowd erupts in a deafening frenzy, and among them, Philip is absolutely losing his mind. "Young master, you called it again. We're going to be filthy rich at this rate." Philip beams at the mountain of gold, but Xian's mind is on something far more ancient. Ignoring the coins, Xian's sharp eyes analyze the golem's complex mana circuits with cold precision. He watches the energy flow like pulsing veins, realizing how easy it is to predict fate. By reading their mana, the winner is already decided, Xian whispers to his inner demon. The commentators return, hyping the crowd for a clash that promises nothing but pure carnage. Prepare yourselves. It's a blood-soaked showdown between the powerhouse 𝒊𝒏𝒄 and the underdog Sting. Philip scoffs at the odds. How can Sting beat a monster with 28 straight wins? Even Sion admits Sting looks like a sacrificial lamb, but his eyes never leave the arena. Both giants enter the stage as the atmosphere reaches a suffocating level of lethal tension. Behold those twin axes. No warrior has ever survived their bite, presenting the butcher, 𝒊𝒏𝒄. Controlled by the pilot Brian, 𝒊𝒏𝒄 looks invincible. Next, the mysterious underdog Sting steps forward. Sting managed one lucky win before, but as Sion watches, his eyes ignite with dark interest. Philip, listen carefully. Bet every single coin we have on Sting. Don't hesitate. Philip breaks into a cold sweat, panicking. Are you insane? Sting has no chance against 𝒊𝒏𝒄. Sion ignores the noise, staring at Sting's golem. Will this puppet defy its pathetic fate today? The titans collide. The impact sends a shockwave through the stadium, shaking the very earth. The crowd gasps as Sting perfectly parries every one of 𝒊𝒏𝒄's ferocious, bone-crushing attacks. Incredible, Sting is shattering all predictions. The announcer screams as the battlefield turns chaotic. 𝒊𝒏𝒄 laughs like a predator. Not bad for a brat, but let's see you survive this. 𝒊𝒏𝒄 roars, his twin axes glowing with a lethal, burning aura that threatens to melt steel. An X-strike of pure fury slams into Sting, sending the golem crashing into the dirt. Dust clouds swallow the arena. Philip's heart sinks as his dreams of wealth turn to ash. No, we lost everything. Terror grips him like the icy hand of a vengeful god. Philip's desperate cries echo like a final prayer before the slaughter. Is this truly the end? Sion remains motionless, his piercing gaze cutting through the smoke to see the truth within. Sting's mana is superior, yet he fell so easily. What are you hiding, little puppet? 𝒊𝒏𝒄 severs the golem's arm in a spray of sparks and metal. The end is near. Give up, rat. You can't run from me. 𝒊𝒏𝒄's insane laughter echoes like a demon's. I'll crush you into dust. He raises his axes, poised to deliver a final, fatal execution. The blades gleam like the twin scythes of a reaper, ready to claim Sting's soul. Philip collapses, sobbing in total despair. It's over. We're ruined. Everything is gone. Sion doesn't blink, his eyes locked on the hidden energy surge building within the wreckage. Just as the killing blow falls, Sting's golem erupts with crackling, venomous blue electricity. Like lightning snakes, the mana surges as 𝒊𝒏𝒄's axes strike nothing but empty ground. A massive crater forms, but as the smoke clears, 𝒊𝒏𝒄 realizes his target has vanished. Sting has taken flight. Like a soaring hawk, the golem escapes the range of 𝒊𝒏𝒄's blades. Did you know, Sion muses, bets are locked only in the final 30 seconds of battle. Too bad for 𝒊𝒏𝒄. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet, Sion whispers. Suddenly, a massive, ancient magic circle manifests before Sting, glowing with a primordial heat. A colossal pillar of fire erupts like an angry volcano, surging towards 𝒊𝒏𝒄 with blinding speed. The inferno incinerates 𝒊𝒏𝒄's golem instantly, reducing the legendary machine to a pile of ash. A thunderous roar shook the earth. The strike was so blindingly fast that the entire arena fell into a stunned silence. Then the crowd erupted. A miracle was unfolding before their eyes, an event never before seen in the history of the Colosseum. Our hero, Sin, defied 20-to-1 odds. He crushed his enemies using a mysterious and devastating brand of high-level magic. Sin is the victor, the announcer screamed, his voice booming across the stands. The stadium trembled as the new champion was crowned. Philip went absolutely wild, jumping for joy like a young child. Tears of pure happiness streamed down his face as he cheered. We actually won. I can't believe my eyes. Meanwhile, Yon stood frozen, his gaze locked onto the arena in sheer disbelief. Did he truly just use magic? Yon stammered, his jaw dropping. The sight of that spell sent shockwaves through his very soul. Philip quickly chimed in. Sir Sharon is a rune knight after all. Seeing him wield magic shouldn't be that surprising, right? He likely hid his true strength just to manipulate the betting odds for this final match, Philip reasoned with a grin. Yon narrowed his eyes, a darker realization dawning on him. No, it wasn't just magic, it was the core theory behind it. That technique of channeling mana through a blade, it was his own masterpiece, a secret art he spent a lifetime perfecting. It was a process fused with forbidden dark magic, one that no one in this era should ever be able to replicate. Suspicion gnawed at Yon's heart. Soon, the scene shifted to a grimy mechanical workshop located near the legendary giant arena. Philip followed behind, grumbling incessantly. "Why are we even here, Master? We should be heading back while we're still ahead." Yon ignored the chatter, lost in thought. Philip's constant whining was finally starting to grate on his nerves like a dull blade. "Shut your mouth, I'm busy thinking," Yon snapped. Suddenly, a weary, aged voice cut through the air, grabbing their attention. "You can still walk away from this. Why agree to a giant's duel? You should have never accepted such a suicide mission." It was Victor, the butler, his voice trembling with worry. Princess Jenna bit her lip, her expression clouded with heavy hesitation. "But Andre is a skilled mercenary," she countered. "He can pilot a golem against the Count's champion without any trouble, right?" Philip's eyes widened as he whispered, "Wait, is that Princess Jenna again? It looks like she's walked straight into a nightmare." They leaned in, eavesdropping as Victor grew more desperate. He pleaded with the princess to abandon this reckless, one-sided gamble. "If you lose this meaningless fight, you'll be forced to marry that wretched Count. This isn't just a game, Princess." "I know the stakes," Jenna replied, her eyes flashing with tragic resolve. "But without this, thousands of refugees will starve to death. This is the only way to save them." Her voice wavered with sadness, yet her gaze remained fixed with an unbreakable determination. Victor exploded in rage. "Sacrificing your entire future is madness. Not with that crumbling, broken-down golem. You are guaranteed to lose. You want to protect the weak, but what about your own life? Why won't you find a way to save yourself first?" Victor's shout echoed with frustration. Standing nearby, Yon heard everything. He finally understood the gravity of her desperate, noble sacrifice. But Yon wasn't one to meddle in affairs that didn't concern him. He turned away coldly, unwilling to waste another second. "Let's go, Philip. We've seen enough here. It's time for us to head back," Yon commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. "Understood, Master." Philip hurried to keep pace. As they walked, Yon tried to convince himself this wasn't his fight to pick. "She isn't Katarina," he muttered under his breath. "There is absolutely no reason for me to get involved in her mess." He quickened his steps, desperate to leave the heavy atmosphere behind and escape the nagging pull of his own conscience. Suddenly, a youthful voice rang out from the shadows, halting them in their tracks. "You're selling your soul, Princess." A young, talented-looking mechanic stepped forward. "That Count is a monster who would trample over anyone to get what he wants. He has terrorized the refugees for years. Without your protection, they're as good as dead, and he knows it," the boy warned. "Look at your machine. Unless you overhaul the entire golem's core structure, it won't even stand a chance in the arena. The power gap between your unit and the Count's is a goddamn canyon. Please, listen to your butler before it's too late." The mechanic's orange hair flared like fire in the dim light. His eyes showed a mix of professional pity and genuine concern. Jenna fell silent, the weight of the mechanic's words crushing her spirit. She knew the technical truth was even grimmer than imagined. "I know, but I can't quit," she whispered, tears finally spilling over. "If I don't try, who will stand for the forgotten?" Seeing her break down triggered something unexpected in Yon. He turned back, approaching the group with a calm, commanding presence. "Let me take a look at that golem," Yon offered coolly. "I believe I can make that hunk of junk move again." But instead of gratitude, Victor's eyes turned predatory. He drew his sword in a flash, shielding the princess with lethal intent. "Get back, Princess. This is no coincidence," Victor hissed, his blade gleaming under the workshop lights, ready to strike. "You must be assassins sent by that coward Count," Victor roared. Yon sighed, his annoyance rising as his kindness met steel. Kindness was met with nothing but sharp suspicion. "So annoying," Sion muttered under his breath. Philip intervened before things turned bloody. "Wait, please lower your blades. This is 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆𝒅, the 10th descendant and current lord of this land." Victor didn't budge. The hero's bloodline, how can we trust such a story? His skepticism was clear. Princess Jenna stepped forward. "Victor, calm yourself at once." The old guard grumbled at her easy trust, but Jenna focused only on Sion. "I apologize for the hostility. You obviously overheard our private conversation. It is shameful to admit, but we are desperate. I need your help." Sion cut her off. "Fine, to ensure there are no more doubts, I'll show you." He drew a small dagger and walked toward the colossal, broken golem. The orange-haired mechanic sighed. "Princess, not just anyone can repair a titan." The armored guard nodded, his voice dripping with unmistakable mockery. "What do these self-proclaimed steel mages know? He'll just break it further." He sneered. Arrogant nobles and their massive egos always love to act superior. Philip grit his teeth. He threw his arms around the two doubters, eyes flashing. "Hey, care to make a bet? I'll put down 10,000 peso. My master will fix this easily, while you two useless hacks do nothing." The mechanic laughed in his face. "Why should we accept such a stupid bet?" Philip's smirk widened, his gaze as dangerous as a ticking time bomb. "Scared, or just cowards?" The mechanic's pride finally snapped with a roar. "Who's scared? I'll double that amount." Meanwhile, Jenna approached Sion curiously. Her clear eyes searched his. "Forgive me, but I must ask one thing. Can you really repair a giant golem with such a primitive little knife?" Seeing the tiny dagger, even Philip's confidence began to waver under the pressure. Suddenly, Sion sliced a deep line across his own palm. Fresh blood began to spill. Philip gasped, thinking his master had gone insane. "Young master, what are you doing?" he cried out in pure horror. Sion ignored the panic. "Shut up and watch, Philip, just stay quiet." He pressed his blood-stained hand against the golem's massive, cold frame. Instantly, a sinister wave of dark magic erupted from his body. "Resurrect!" Black lightning surged, coursing through the golem like a dark storm. Energy veins glowed brilliantly as the machine began to breathe once again. A sudden memory from 500 years ago flooded Sion's mind. After annihilating his enemies, the Demon King knelt before his fallen stone titans. "Will you fall in this pathetic place? Rise, you are my immortal legion. Answer my call once more." He unleashed a terrifying explosion of dark energy. The eerie gloom swallowed the world as the golem's eyes ignited with life. Their wounds healed instantly, as if they had never known defeat or pain. Back in reality, the massive golem stood tall, fully restored by his forbidden arts. Philip cheered wildly, nearly jumping for joy. "I knew Master wouldn't fail." The mechanics fell to their knees, witnessing a miracle they couldn't comprehend. "How is this possible?" one stammered, his face pale with shock. Jenna and Victor stood frozen. The impossible had happened right before them. "Mia is moving again. This can't be real." Victor stared at Sion, his mind racing with 1,000 terrifying questions. "Never in my life have I witnessed such a miracle. This magic is beyond anything the continent has ever seen. The entire world will be shaken by this historical moment," he thought, his mind swirling with shock and utter confusion. As the dust settled, everything felt like a surreal dream. Sion gave a calm nod and walked toward the gathering crowd. Philip rushed forward, unable to contain his explosive excitement. He showered his young master with endless praise and adoration. "You are truly peerless, my lord. I bet you could even breathe life into stones and turn them into dragons." Meanwhile, the orange-haired mechanic refused to accept reality. He pointed a trembling finger at Sion, his face twisted in pure rage. "This is a scam. He used forbidden dark arts to deceive us." He spat, his teeth grinding in a fit of bitter jealousy. Philip's hand twitched toward his blade, ready to teach them a lesson. "How dare you accuse the 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆���� of using black magic? You insolent fools! You dare insult the bloodline of our noble house." The mechanic flinched, terrified by Philip's murderous aura. Xian realized that if he didn't silence the whispers now, dark rumors would soon spread like wildfire through the kingdom. He quickly crafted a clever lie to explain the impossible. It's fine. This is simply a hidden art of my family. A secret technique kept in the shadows for 500 years. It's only natural that commoners like you wouldn't recognize it. The mechanics remained skeptical, their eyes narrowing with suspicion. A family secret? This doesn't add up at all. How could a house of swordsmen possess such high-level magic? They doubted his words, refusing to fully accept the explanation. However, Princess Jenna was sharp enough to see the truth. Xian had his secrets, and she knew better than to pry. She stepped in before the tension could escalate further. It doesn't matter even if it were dark magic. What truly matters is that he saved countless lives today. I can never thank you enough for your noble service. Please accept my deepest apologies for the earlier misunderstandings. Xian shook his head, his voice as calm as a gentle breeze. Think nothing of it, Princess. Misunderstandings are part of life. I hold no grudge against you or your people. Jenna stepped closer, pulling out a delicate silk handkerchief. She tenderly wiped the lingering blood from Xian's tired hands. No, you were hurt because of me. Please, let me care for you. Her kindness touched a chord deep within Xian's cold heart. If it eases your mind, then I shall not stop you. Just as peace returned, a new storm began to brew. A servant rushed in, breathless and pale with absolute terror. Princess Jenna, something terrible has happened. Victor's brow furrowed in deep irritation as he barked. What is it now? Why are you screaming like a madman? Speak clearly. What could possibly cause such a pathetic panic? The servant gasped for air, struggling to find his voice. He's gone. Sir Andre is nowhere to be found. I've searched the entire inn, but the knight has vanished. Jenna's face turned ghostly white, as if struck by lightning. She couldn't believe the betrayal that had just occurred. Meanwhile, in a lavish chamber, a feast was being held. Servants hurried to serve the finest delicacies to their master. The blonde young lord sat there, wearing a smirk of pure arrogance. He savored his meal, his eyes gleaming with sinister delight. We've successfully recruited Andre. Now, the princess has no one. Everything is unfolding exactly according to my grand design. A servant hesitated, not wanting to ruin his master's mood. My lord, there is one small complication you should know. It seems they have successfully repaired the golem after all. Count Mona's expression shifted instantly from smugness to blistering fury. What? Didn't If state that their golem was beyond repair? He demanded, his voice dripping with cold, murderous intent. This blonde devil was Count Mona, the tyrant of Elmia, a man driven by nothing but cruelty and boundless ambition. After dismissing his subordinate, he glared at the remaining staff. I've lost my appetite. Is there nothing else to entertain me? There is nothing else, my lord, the servant replied, trembling. No one could stop Mona once his eyes were set on the prize. Soon, Princess Jenna will belong to me, body and soul. You will all see what it means to cross the master of Mona. He gazed at the massive night golem standing before him. His eyes were filled with greed and calculated malice. Time flew by as the high-stakes wager drew near. The battle between Jenna and Mona was set to be a public spectacle. A massive crowd gathered at the arena, buzzing with anticipation. The legendary duel was finally about to commence. The announcers hyped up the achievements of both competing sides. Finally, they introduced the main event of the evening. Princess Jenna's Mia versus the undefeated champion of Elmia, Alice. Alice, with 78 victories and 0 defeats. Can Mia hope to stand against such an invincible monster? The stadium was thick with suffocating tension and nervous energy. But as the clock ticked, Mia was nowhere to be seen. Doubts began to spread like a plague among the spectators. The announcer questioned if they had already surrendered in fear. Is this the end of the line for the princess? The crowd erupted into a deafening roar of mockery. Are you too scared to show your face? Doubts and insults rained down like a storm. Give us our money back, coward. A tidal wave of fury surged through the arena. Meanwhile, Count Mona watched from his shadows with a sinister, triumphant smirk. "You've finally run out of pawns," he whispered to the empty room. He was certain they had given up now that their knight was gone. "Princess Dua has no choice but to accept my hand now. I'll show them the price of bruising my pride." Let's rewind to the moment the desperate group received the news. Their star knight, Andre, had vanished into thin air without a trace. "Where could Andre have gone? I can't find him anywhere." Panic gripped them. "Has Count Mona deceived us all?" Despair clouded the attendant's face, but Victor, the veteran butler, refused to believe it. He couldn't accept that Andre had turned traitor. "You're saying he betrayed us?" he roared in denial. A young messenger stepped forward, trembling, to deliver the crushing blow. Sir Andre was spotted, entering the Count's mansion. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any blade. Victor was forced to face the cold, hard reality. Even if he didn't flip, the power gap is too massive. How could he be so hideous? Princess Dua stood there, her body shaking with pure terror. But just as hope flickered out, Sion stepped into the light. Seeing Jenna's distress, the young master spoke up. "If you can't fight, you'll be forced to marry that snake, right? If it's not too much trouble, I think I can help you." Jenna's eyes ignited with a sudden, desperate hope. "How exactly do you plan to do that?" she whispered. Behind him, Philip, Sion's loyal servant, quickly cut in. "Young master, have you forgotten the disaster when you last piloted a golem?" Sion just gave a confident smirk. "Don't worry, controlling a giant is child's play." Amidst the jeers, the golem known as Mia suddenly stepped onto the field. It appeared like a ghost from the other side of the arena. "Wait, we thought Mia had forfeited, but he's here." The announcer's voice cracked with excitement. "He's entered the fray just in time." He stood fearless against Alice, the undefeated champion of the realm. Up in the VIP box, the Count's smug smile vanished instantly. His face contorted with pure, unadulterated rage. He crushed the crystal glass in his hand, his eyes burning with fury. "You told me the princess had no knights left," he hissed at his subordinate. The man stammered, I was certain there were none, my lord." Mona's mind raced. Did she hire a mercenary? No, that's impossible. She knows the weight of this battle too well. Who is this fool who dares to stand against me within the borders of my own territory? Jenna and Victor watched from a corner of the stands, their hearts racing. "Victor, how does the match look?" Jenna asked, her voice trembling. "We made it just in time," Victor panted, as the princess let out a breath of relief. "But is this really going to be okay?" The physical disparity was overwhelming. The opponent was the champion of the Lomer territory. Jenna couldn't believe her eyes as she compared the two giants. "Everything will be fine," Sion assured her from behind. "He might look a bit simple, but that man's skills are extraordinary." Inside the golem's cockpit, Philip muttered to himself, "Young master, why do you always drag me into these messes?" The announcer's voice boomed across the stadium once more. "The underdog Mia has arrived, but look at the difference in power. Against the invincible Alice, this looks like a slaughter." The audience focused on the staggering size difference between the two machines. "Is that a golem or a toy? Are they actually going to fight?" The crowd erupted into fits of mocking laughter. "He should just run away while he still can." Alice, seeing that Mia wasn't retreating, gave a nod of grim respect. "I praise you for not fleeing like a coward, but you know how this ends. I won't be holding back." Alice tightened his grip on the massive mace, the air humming with killing intent. On the other side, Philip remained eerily calm. "We won't know the winner until the dust settles," Philip replied. "Fine, then let's put that confidence to the ultimate test." With a roar, Alice swung the titanic mace, shattering the ground and creating a massive crater. Dust and stone exploded everywhere. Philip's instincts were sharp. He forced the golem to leap aside just in time. Looking at the destruction, Philip felt a cold sweat break out. If that hit had connected, Mia would be nothing but scrap metal. "But being big doesn't make you a better warrior," he whispered. Philip saw an opening and lunged for a close-quarters strike. But Alice was terrifyingly fast, swinging again before Philip could even move. Philip dropped the golem's center of gravity, narrowly avoiding a decapitating blow. He's too fast. This is seriously dangerous. Alice saw him constantly retreating and began to taunt. It seems your confidence was nothing but empty words. Philip couldn't even find an opening to argue. This pilot was a seasoned veteran, a true master of the machine. As the minutes ticked by, the arena was slowly reduced to rubble. Alice unleashed a relentless barrage of heavy strikes toward Mia. Incredible, the announcer screamed. Not a single one of Alice's devastating blows has touched Mia. It looked as if Philip was merely playing with the champion. Sion's group was stunned by Philip's godlike evasion techniques. Victor watched with bated breath, his eyes wide with shock. But running away won't be enough to win this war. Princess Dua whispered softly to Victor, reassuring him of Philip's legendary hidden potential. Sion overheard their secrets, but his icy gaze remained fixed on the arena below. He doubted the boy's skill, despite the many knights he had crushed before. Philip looked like a cornered beast, fleeing as Alice closed in for the kill. Sion realized Philip was stalling, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Philip suddenly reversed his golem, swinging his blade with lethal, blinding precision. But the steel didn't even scratch Alice's armor, only igniting his murderous rage. Finally playing for real, Alice roared, leaping high with his devastating mace raised. The champion's finishing blow, the announcers screamed. Is it over for Mia? Staring death in the face, Philip just smirked, a smile only a true monster possesses. A thunderous explosion rocked the stadium. As the dust cleared, Alice stood paralyzed. You dodged that, he gasped. Suddenly, Philip's presence turned cold and dark. If Master Roger finds out, I'm dead, Philip muttered, sensing a different kind of dread. I must win. The young master's entire legacy is on the line. You'll regret forcing me to show my true form, he declared like a conqueror. The air grew heavy. Alice's instincts screamed as Philip's hidden power finally erupted. Such overwhelming aura at your age. Your very movements have transcended humanity. A worthy opponent at last, Alice cried, just as a holographic screen flickered. It was Count Mona, his face twisted in a mask of absolute, frantic fury. Are you struggling against that trash? If you lose, you're finished, he screamed. Forgive me, my lord, Alice replied, fear finally cracking his ironclad composure. I will end this now, Alice roared, his golem surging with a violent, crushing energy. He charged like a demonic cyclone, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Let's end this fight, Alice shouted, unleashing a strike meant to shatter souls. Philip braced himself. The champion's blow descended like a falling star, hitting the earth. The ground shattered, but Philip's golem had vanished as if it were a ghost. He's gone, Alice stammered, right before a blinding pain severed his right arm. Horror filled his eyes, this speed, this aura. He remembered the ancient legend. The undefeated myth of the arena, the cursed sword of the Black Knight. Philip didn't hesitate, delivering a final, soul-cleaving strike that ended everything instantly. The stadium fell into a deathly silence as the champion lay defeated. A miracle, the impossible has happened. Mia has slain the unbeatable champion. The crowd went insane. The name Mia echoed like thunder across the entire city. Beneath the cheering, Alice laughed, a sound of pure, respectful submission to a master. To meet the Black Knight here, what an honor, Alice whispered in awe. You know me. We crossed blades 3 years ago at the Royal Arena. Why have you returned? Alice asked. Philip just offered a mysterious, knowing smile. Keep my identity buried, Philip commanded, his voice cold and sharp as steel. Consider it done, Alice shrugged. I've lost my position anyway, no harm done. Philip sighed. Is that so? Then I truly apologize for the trouble. High above, Victor watched with tears of absolute triumph streaming down his face. Princess, we did it. The victory is ours, he sobbed, overwhelmed by relief. Princess Dua couldn't hide her joy either, tears glistening on her beautiful face. Victor, don't cry during our moment of glory, she teased through her own tears. Together, they watched their champion, as a new era finally began. As Philip's victory was declared, Xian's lips curled into a smirk. He quietly vanished from the stands. "Everything is falling into place," Xian whispered. Finally, he could depart this island without a single lingering worry. Xian strode toward the betting board, his eyes scanning the latest odds for the duel between Philip and Alice. A look of pure, unadulterated satisfaction washed over his face. The numbers on the screen were a beautiful sight. "Gambling is truly an endless goldmine," he mused. Mia's odds stood at 21-1. "I bet all 10,000 pesos. This world is far too easy to conquer," he noted with a chuckle. "Let's calculate the spoils." From selling those statues, Xian had already pocketed 3,000 pesos. Doubling that through early wagers brought him to 6,000, plus another 4,000 from previous arena matches. That 10,000 total would now surge 21-fold. A staggering 210,000 pesos was now his. A fortune beyond imagination. Time flew by, and the scene shifted to the harbor where the ships waited. With their business concluded, Xian and Philip prepared to set sail toward a brand new legendary chapter. Before they departed, Princess Jenna and Victor arrived. Their gazes were heavy with the bittersweet ache of parting. "It is time for us to leave," Xian announced. Jenna nodded, her voice thick with overwhelming gratitude. "I cannot find the words to thank you enough for everything you have done for us," she whispered. "Don't overthink it. We simply acted within our own capabilities," Xian replied, dismissing her praise with a wave. Yet Jenna's heart remained heavy. She knew the immense burden they had shouldered on her behalf. "Risking your lives for us was no small feat. I wish I could repay you more fittingly," she sighed. In truth, Xian helped Jenna to satisfy his own ideals. He expected nothing in return from anyone. "It's fine, we gained plenty," he smiled. "Without meeting you, we wouldn't have secured such a massive windfall. Honestly, I'd stay longer, but we've caused quite a stir. It's best to vanish before my identity leaks." Xian explained calmly, his words carrying the sharp wisdom of a man who knew when to disappear. The clever princess caught his drift instantly. She understood the dangerous shadows closing in on them. "You clashed with elite guards just to aid me. Only now do I realize the weight of my influence. I truly hope I haven't made your journey more complicated," she added, her tone laced with genuine concern. Xian remained unfazed. His gaze was already fixed on the horizon of his next grand adventure. "Don't fret over us. However, you must flee this region as quickly as possible," Xian warned her. "A man who strikes like that won't give up easily. He is likely already weaving his next plot." Xian offered his sincere advice, knowing the dark nature of the enemies they left behind. Victor nodded in grim agreement. "Indeed, Princess, Count Mona has no reason to keep us here any longer." Xian stood beside them, his voice echoing with a profound understanding of their difficult situation. "I know you worry for the refugees, but staying here won't help them in the long run. To ensure a brighter future, a true leader must know when to take a step back from danger." Jenna cut him off before he could finish, her voice suddenly ringing with an ironclad resolve. "I realize that, but this is hard. Call me stubborn or foolish, but I cannot abandon my people. I want to save as many souls as possible, even if I am all they have left." Xian was momentarily stunned by the fire in her eyes. Then, a genuine smile of respect surfaced. "I understand. May fortune favor you." He extended his hand, and the princess grasped it firmly. "And I hope you return unscathed from your own travels. I truly believe in you," she replied. "I look forward to our next encounter," Xian said, as the final farewells were exchanged between the groups. Xian and Philip boarded their vessel, leaving the island behind to face the journey ahead. One crisis resolved. Now, they only needed to return home and claim their titles as legendary heroes. "Why bring those fools along? We should have just scammed them out of their money," Philip groaned. He glared at the two mechanics near the golem Mia, still mourning his lost 10,000 pesos. Xian smirked teasingly. "Didn't you say our territory lacked great mages? Well, the truth is obvious now." Philip grumbled. his face flushed with the realization of his own previous stupidity and arrogance. "A broken titan is just scrap metal," Sion sneered. "Are you out of your mind? Clueless about mana stone restoration. No wonder you're stuck at the bottom of the ranks." "Shut your mouth and guard our hall," Sion barked, leaving Philip drowning in his own tears. "So heartless," Philip sobbed. Meanwhile, shadows loomed over the prestigious Lacan estate. The greedy merchant Durin arrived, wearing a smug grin as he prepared to seize their legacy. "Why so early? Our deadline hasn't passed," Butler hand pleaded, watching his world being packed away. Despair filled the air until Philip appeared behind Durin like a vengeful specter. "Gah, you nearly gave me a heart attack," Durin shrieked, clutching his chest in terror. Philip smiled coldly. "I am Philip, the sworn shield of the young master." Durin scoffed. "A knight, where's your master? I'm here for my due." Philip signaled his men, revealing chests overflowing with shimmering, pure gold coins. "Impossible, 30,000 pesos in a week," Durin stammered, his dreams of conquest shattering. Panic set in. If the debt was paid, his plan to steal the territory was dead. "Hurry up, idiots," Philip roared. "Can't you see Lord Durin is in a rush? Pile the 30,000 pesos onto his carriage. Don't waste another second of his precious time." The gold was loaded instantly. Realizing his defeat, Durin tried to regain control. "Wait, there's no need for haste," the merchant stuttered. "I should greet the young master personally." Philip flashed a sinister document. "A message from the young master, planning your next scheme, old man. Debt settled. Now you're just a trespasser. If you stay, expect consequences." According to Imperial Law Article 36, trespassing on a noble's estate is a capital offense. "Leave now, or be sliced in half." Those were the young master's exact orders. "You have 3 seconds. 1, 2. Philip drew his blade, the steel humming with killing intent. Terrified, Durin scrambled into his carriage and fled, screaming empty threats into the wind. Philip watched the dust settle. At least he finally understands how terrifying our master truly is. Butler Han and the staff stood frozen. "Philip!" they called out, their voices trembling. "We're rich!" Philip cheered, turning back to his comrades with a triumphant grin. But their eyes blazed with fury. "You sold the ancestral walls. You've doomed the Lacan name." "Where is the young master? Did you leave him for dead?" Captain Roger barked, grabbing Philip's collar. Philip's face drained of color. "Wait, I can explain everything, just give me a second." "No more lies. Speak now." Roger's gaze was sharp enough to draw blood. Meanwhile, Sion stood before the Demon King's tower, his home, after 500 long years. He pushed open the heavy gates inside. What a disaster! I suppose maintenance was too much to ask. With a snap of his fingers, eerie blue flames ignited, bathing the hall in a ghostly, mystical glow. "I should be grateful it hasn't crumbled into dust after 5 centuries, Sion mused. His gaze fell upon the crimson staircase, a place etched with memories of her, of Katarina. A fire burned in his eyes. He would protect this sanctuary, no matter the cost. Placing his hand on the cold stone, Sion surged his mana forward, triggering a hidden mechanism. A secret passage groaned open. Dwarven craftsmanship never fails, still perfect after 500 years. "Now, shall I reclaim what belongs to the true king?" His eyes shimmered with absolute conviction. He descended into the dark, subterranean depths, his footsteps echoing through the hollow silence. "To shatter a curse, one needs power that dwarfs the hex itself," he whispered to the shadows. This was the only way. Sion reached the final chamber and thrust the doors wide open. Inside, suspended in a crystal vial, pulsed a forbidden, blood-red stone. "Untouched for 5 centuries, Sion smirked. "I've always preferred the silence of this tomb." He reached toward the glowing artifact. "It's been a long time, devil heart." 5 centuries ago, Sion breached the demon realm's forbidden heart alone. With a flick, his void bullet vaporized the charging demonic guards instantly. "Are you the ruler?" he asked. A petite girl yawned, utterly bored. High Demon Han was disappointed. "I expected a sage, not a brat." "You're interesting, human. I'll grant you one last wish before death." She spoke with the absolute confidence of a predator, cornering its prey. Xiang found her chatter annoying. Her word magic was dangerously top tier. The higher the rank, the bigger the mouth. He sighed in disappointment. His blatant disrespect ignited Han's fury. "Mercy was a mistake, fool. I'll show you the true despair of a high demon's elite guard." Her minions unleashed a suffocating bloodlust. Xiang knew he was outnumbered. "I'm not suicidal," he smirked. Suddenly, the sky itself began to fall. Massive golems crashed down, and a brutal, chaotic war of attrition erupted. Xiang stood victorious. Han asked, "Will you use my mana to change fate?" "That's none of your business. Just return to pure mana for me." Forbidden sorcery transformed the high demon's body into a glowing crimson stone. 500 years later, Xiang gazed at that same legendary mana core. Absorbing this raw power could mean madness or becoming a hideous monster. Many had failed before, but to reach level 9, he needed this catalyst. Without hesitation, he swallowed the SSS rank stone. The real struggle began. Agony exploded within him. His consciousness drifted into a vast, mental desert. "The mana hasn't consumed me yet," he realized, spotting a familiar figure. It was Han's spirit. She glared at him, radiating a terrifying, ancient pressure. 5 centuries and she's still this strong," Xiang muttered, stepping forward. "I'm here to borrow." Before he finished, Han's eyes flared with recognition. She moved like a lightning strike, pinning Xiang to the burning sands. "You've grown weak," she mocked. "Why have you crawled back to me?" "I need your vessel," Xiang hissed through the pain. Han laughed hysterically. "My enemy begs for my strength. How pathetic and deeply entertaining." Her hand tightened like a cold iron vice around his fragile throat. "Damn it, she's going to crush me." Xiang scrambled for a solution. In a split-second gamble, he decided to shift the narrative's flow. "Wait, I'm here to offer a deal. Do you really want to end this?" He calculated every breath, knowing she needed his body as much as he needed her. Surprisingly, Han released him. "Your courage is as reckless as ever, human. But your mana circuits are shattered. Can your soul even hold my power?" Xiang's eyes blazed with iron will. "If I fail, my body is yours. You've been locked away for centuries. What do you have to lose?" Han snapped her fingers. Crimson-black chains of mana instantly bound his limbs. "I'll make you suffer for every second of my 500-year imprisonment." Her eyes gleamed with sadistic joy as she unleashed her mental corruption. Searing pain tore through his mind. Is this total mental domination? He fought to stay conscious as the dark energy invaded his very soul. Han increased the pressure, forcing a scream of pure agony from his lips. "Where's your pride now?" she sneered, but Xiang just grinned back. A twisted sneer played on her lips. "Still as noisy as ever, I see." Her gaze flickered with a hint of unease. "Is that all you've got? Mere words?" She spat coldly. "Do you think you still possess your former mana and circles?" Xian replied calmly. "Even with my broken circles and current weakness, I am still a man who reached the 9th circle. Dark magic will never bow to such cheap mind control." As he spoke, Xian's silhouette began to shift and blur. He vanished from her sight, replaced by his past self, towering over her like a gargantuan titan. Like a god descending to earth, his massive hand reached out, snatching the high demon's petite frame in an iron grip. He crushed her. Darkness swallowed her vision as a wave of sheer vertigo washed over her entire being. Since this was only the mental realm, her body reformed instantly. Xian's escape from her trap confirmed one thing. "I knew it. You're fascinating," she muttered. "But to think you actually reached the 9th circle, simply incredible." Her voice dripped with excitement, yet a hint of caution remained. Xian smirked. "If you don't believe me, then watch." Confidence radiated from his face. Realizing she couldn't win this mental tug-of-war, she decided to end her little game. She knew she was outclassed in this domain. "Enough," she sighed. "I simply wanted to remind you of the truth. Even with such power, you alone cannot change this world." Xian stood up slowly, his resolve unshakable. No, he declared firmly. This is only the beginning. I will reshape this world with my own hands. Determination blazed like a wildfire in his eyes. Witnessing his absolute confidence, her mood shifted from mockery to intrigue. Curiosity danced across her face. I wonder just how much of my power you can truly harvest, Ninth Circle Master. Her tone grew cryptic. Xian replied with a sharp, "Of course I can." She let out a mysterious, dark laugh. Your confidence is commendable, but even if I possess you, this body's limit is only the 6th or 7th circle. Go on then, tear this world apart for me. She laughed playfully as her form began to dissolve into shadows. Dark mana swirled in the void as she vanished. I'll do my best not to disappoint you, Xian vowed. His voice was heavy with resolve. Indeed, failure is not an option this time, her voice echoed one last time. Soon, Xian's consciousness snapped back to reality. A wave of exhaustion washed over his physical body immediately. He didn't rest. Instead, he unleashed black fire magic at the wall, testing his current destructive capabilities. It seems I've only reached the 3rd circle, he calculated. But with this foundation, it's more than enough. He smiled, satisfied. The mana felt purified, its color distinct from his past life's dark energy. If she wanted, she could have taken my body. I must live up to her expectations, he mused. Leaving the secret room, a grand plan began to take shape within his mind. Time was of the essence. He pondered his next move. Mastery of the 9th circle's theory was already his, only the mana was lacking. Collecting enough mana will be the real challenge, he thought. I must act now, no more delays. His pace quickened with urgency. He reached another hidden chamber and looked at the ancient structures within. You've rested for 500 years, Xian called out. It's time to get back to work. He slammed his palm onto the floor, activating a massive, glowing magic circle. Now, serve me once again. He smirked at the rows of stone golems awakening before him. Meanwhile, in Count Mona's distant territory, Alice, the golem pilot, faced a brutal punishment for her defeat. Count Mona's fury was palpable. Have you realized the weight of your failure? His voice was like ice, dripping with lethal intent. I apologize, my lord. Please show mercy, Malon stammered, trembling under the Count's terrifying gaze. The Count shrugged with a mocking sneer. Failure? You think this is just about losing a match? It's pathetic. You lost despite having a 5-fold advantage in power. People will think you're a traitor. Did you conspire with China? His face darkened like a demon's. Malon's desperation reached a breaking point. I swear my loyalty. I would never betray you. I swear on my honor as a knight. Knightly honor, Alice scoffed, her cruelty on full display. Beside her, a soldier raised his blade to execute him. Seeing no escape, Malon blurted out the truth. Wait, I know something about that enemy pilot. 3 years ago, I fought him at the Royal Arena. He's the legendary undefeated knight. The revelation hung in the air. Mona leaned in. An undefeated knight. Then who are they allied with? The mystery deepened as the shadow of a grand conspiracy loomed over the empire. His voice dripped with curiosity, but Malone remained silent, clueless about the mystery. They vanished without a trace. Mona sighed, his disappointment heavy and cold. Then you're useless, Mona signaled, and terror paralyzed Malone's entire body. I'll find him, please mercy. But a blade's whistle silenced his desperate plea forever. Leaving the fresh corpse behind, Mona walked away as if nothing happened. A scout arrived with news. Princess Jenna was staying among the lowly refugees. Rage flared in Mona's eyes, burning with a dark, threatening intensity. Keep watch, and find the one who truly controlled that nightly puppet. I must see if he dares to obstruct my grand design, he growled. Cruelty twisted his face as the scene shifted to a decaying, desolate town. Wind howled through the ruins, whispering the tragic history of the Lacan bloodline. Once a thriving paradise, the land had withered into a barren, forgotten wasteland. Abandoned homes stood like skeletons in these villages, now facing total extinction. Behold this ghost town, Xian remarked, glancing at the bound accountant Dixon. Xian drew his steel, and Dixon's face turned as pale as death itself. "Young master, why?" The man trembled before Xian's overwhelming, demonic presence. Xian mocked him, sword dancing. "Are you playing the fool or truly blind?" "This ruin is your handiwork," Dixon sobbed. "I truly did my best." Xian's gaze was pure contempt. "Your best? Don't make me laugh, coward. I should hang you, yet your talented record is quite intriguing. An imperial genius choosing this wasteland. It was a waste of rare potential. You managed 10 years of finances in one day, perfect and efficient." The praise made Dixon's face light up with sudden, desperate hope. "I am a master of calculation. I can solve anything instantly." Xian's smile died. "That is the problem," he whispered with rising fury. Before Dixon could blink, Xian seized his collar with a vice-like grip. He hurled the man down the rocky slope like a discarded piece of trash. Dixon tumbled violently, stopping only when he slammed against the jagged cliff. "Why?" he wheezed, shock and pain shattering his fragile composure. He looked upon the starving villagers, and his voice died in his throat. "This hell, my numbers never predicted such a pathetic, wretched reality." Xian loomed over him like a shadow. "See the truth with your eyes. Human lives aren't just cold numbers. Look at their suffering, accountant. Immerse yourself here. Find out why this territory has fallen into ruin. Fail to find the cause, and your employment ends permanently." "Am I fired?" Dixon stammered. Xian's grin turned lethal and dark. "Or would you prefer to retire to the grave right now?" Dixon bolted toward the slums, desperate to prove his worth to the master. Xian watched him go. He cared little for Lacan but needed its strength. To complete his supreme magic circle, this territory had to be rebuilt first. Leaving the town to Dixon, Xian returned to the main family mansion. Inside, Philip was cornered by Han and Roger, facing a storm of questions. "Did you truly gamble to settle the debts?" Philip gave a low nod. The hall erupted in chaos. A noble, solving a crisis through gambling. If this scandal leaks, the family's prestige will be buried in shame forever. "The family is doomed," a blond man cried out in pure terror. Steward Han stood frozen, his face pale. "Centuries of our legacy, shattered in a moment." Han nearly collapsed. How could he destroy everything like this? Roger hissed through gritted teeth, turning his sharp gaze toward Philip. "Tell me, is your identity still hidden?" "Of course, I'm not that careless," Philip snapped, though he felt the weight of his next confession. "But I did draw my blade against the Lacan heir." Philip's face drained of color. "I'm a total fool." Roger unsheathed his sword in a flash, the steel gleaming dangerously. "You absolute idiot," he roared. Han didn't care about the casino scandal anymore. A much darker shadow was looming over them all. Secret or not, the truth will surface. Count Mona's intelligence network is like a web, nothing escapes him. Once the Lord of Lamb knows, he'll strike with everything he has. He won't hesitate to draw blood. Han's voice trembled with visceral fear. Roger nodded solemnly. "Count Mona was looking for a reason for war. And we just handed it to him on a silver platter." Han felt a soul-crushing weight of despair. "I've heard enough." Xian's voice cut through the air like a blade as he stepped into the room. "You claim our reputation is everything, yet you'd let corruption rot us from the inside. That's your justice." Roger fired back immediately. "We are being realistic. Our military is nothing compared to Count Mona's power. Your reckless decisions have placed every soul in this family in the line of fire," Roger shouted. Xian looked at them, his eyes cold and unforgiving. It was time for a harsh reality check. "You think bowing to tyrants makes you heroes. True heroes protect justice when the odds are impossible." "We are bleeding for the Lacan name," Han cried out, but Xian silenced him with a chilling glare. "Is the crisis over? Or are you just making a scene over gambling to hide your own failures? If the world learns you paid debts with gambling gold, our name is finished." Han tried to reason. Xian's fury finally boiled over. He pointed a finger directly at the steward's face. "Enough of this. Can a good name feed a starving village? Our people are dying while you worry about appearances. Your priorities are a joke. I will not tolerate this pathetic cowardice for one more second. From this moment, everything changes. Lacan will no longer hide. This is my absolute command. If you think I'm wrong, leave now. Anyone who dares to disobey my orders will be fired. The sheer authority in Xian's voice left them breathless. Han's face shifted from shock to pure disbelief. Young master, these men have served us for generations. Han pleaded, desperate to save the status quo. Xian sighed heavily. I have no room for men with narrow visions. I'll prove my resolve today. He turned to Philip, a calculating spark in his eyes. You showed true potential during our journey. You possess the instincts of a leader, Philip. You are far more capable than you realize. Philip stumbled over his words, stunned. Me, a leader? Why are you saying this now, master? Xian glanced at Roger, his voice dripping with hidden intent. Only the strongest should lead my knights. Don't you agree, Roger? The realization hit Roger like a physical blow. Are you trying to? A duel, Xian declared. The victor will be appointed as the new captain of the knights. Philip broke down, tears streaming. I can't do it. He's my uncle, the man who taught me everything. Roger's expression hardened. Silence, Philip. If the master wants a test of strength, I will provide it. The group moved to the training grounds. The air grew heavy with the scent of impending battle. Roger looked at his nephew, memories of years past flickering in his eyes. It's been too long. Philip nodded, his heart racing. I'm terrified, but I have to give this everything I've got. He slowly drew his sword, the metal singing. Roger smirked. Good, let's see your true growth. Forgive me, uncle, but I'm coming at you with full force. Philip's grip tightened on his hilt. Xian watched from the sidelines, his mind racing. Was Philip's tension a weakness or a hidden strength? Taking a ragged breath, Philip lunged. He moved like a lightning strike, aiming directly at Roger's flank. Roger parried the blow with effortless grace. Your technique has sharpened, Philip. You've definitely improved. I'm a different man now, Philip roared, launching a flurry of strikes with blinding, supernatural speed. Roger was stunned by Philip's explosive speed. This was no longer a mere child's game. Philip appeared behind Roger in an instant, yet the experienced knight's instincts were far sharper. To become the ultimate shield, for the family, pure speed alone would never be enough. Without even turning, Roger seized Philip's collar and slammed him into the unforgiving earth. A massive crater formed from the impact. Roger then kicked him away like a common ragdoll. Gasping through the agony, Philip refused to back down, screaming that he wasn't finished yet. Roger simply sighed, resting his blade near Xian while shaking his head in cold disappointment. The match is over. Now do you understand why I lead the knights, young master? Xian smirked. He despised the man's arrogance, but recognized such overwhelming and impressive martial prowess. Time skipped to the training grounds. The knights were pushing their limits through grueling endurance. Keep moving. The young master is watching. Do not bring shame to this elite unit. Roger's roar echoed like thunder, forcing every soldier to tighten their formation in absolute obedience. Xian brooded over his easy defeat. The gap in power was more frustrating than imagined. Philip reminded him that Roger remained one of the 5 strongest swordsmen on the continent. If an assassin targeted me now, I'd be dead, Xian remarked with a chillingly calm honesty. Xian's gaze hardened. Philip, I'm appointing you as my official personal escort. Don't fail me. Overwhelmed with emotion, Philip swore to become a blade that would shatter any future threat. I will prove my worthiness. With a nod from Xian, the boy rushed back to training. Philip sprinted toward the drills, his every step fueled by a new, burning sense of purpose. Xian watched the 50 elite knights. Their discipline was the only treasure left in this house. This warrior bloodline produced monsters. Both Philip and Roger were talents the world would envy. By evening, the atmosphere turned toxic. Han stood trembling, his face pale with pure horror. Are you insane? Selling family heirlooms and statues? Have you lost all sense of honor? Han shrieked as servants hauled out the treasures. Xian merely watched with icy, cold indifference. If it brings in gold, I will sell it, Xian replied with a voice of steel. Han felt the sting of betrayal. He couldn't comprehend why the heir would act so recklessly. Hero Lakan died 500 years ago. His ghost won't feed this starving family, Han. Your obsession with dead legends is exactly why this great noble house is currently rotting. It's the Demon King's curse, Han cried out in desperation, clinging to his pathetic excuses. Xian scoffed. Blaming a dead Demon King while praising the past was a mark of failure. I will surpass Lakan. Oppose me with your dusty traditions, and I'll erase you from history. Xian slammed a dagger into the table, the steel vibrating with his absolute, terrifying resolve. He stormed out, leaving a broken hand surrounded by panicked servants in the silent room. His own words served as the ultimate proof that his defiant attitude was becoming a grave problem. Praising the dead while blaming the Demon King for this ruin, I shall surpass even Hero Xiang himself. Cling to those rotting traditions if you must, but I will erase you from the family history forever. He drew a dagger and slammed it into the table, the steel echoing his ruthless and unwavering resolve. He stormed out, leaving Han paralyzed in terror as worried servants swarmed around the trembling old man. Han shook uncontrollably, haunted by memories of a young master who once sat on his lap, listening. This transformation is unbelievable, especially since he began frequenting the Demon King's cursed fortress so often lately. It must be that monster's curse. As Xiang stepped out, Philip approached him with a look of concern. Young master, please hear Han out. What you just said. It was simply too much to bear. Xiang cut him off mid-sentence, his voice sharp and cold, radiating an absolute and predatory sense of authority. Why would I ever compromise? I won't give Han another second to waste my time with his hesitation. Then Xiang paused. His eyes turned deadly serious as he finally addressed the heart of the real problem. Forget that for now. Did you secure the intel I requested? Philip turned pale with sudden anxiety. Young master, please, keep your voice down. That information from Lord Han was nearly impossible to obtain. Xian's eyes gleamed with an intense curiosity, making the panicked Philip tremble even more. Lower your voice. After a hurried whisper, the scene shifts to a damp, lightless dungeon where their footsteps echo ominously. Xian's irritation was palpable as they walked. Philip, this is a far cry from what I ordered. He glared at the withered, skeletal man behind bars. Even Philip seemed at a loss for words. But he was fine just yesterday. Before Philip could explain, a raspy voice emerged from the cell. Who goes there? A crushing spiritual pressure suddenly weighed down on Xian's very soul. A level 5 mage. Perhaps even stronger, Xian thought, his senses sharpening like a blade. The prisoner's gaze grew predatory. I won't repeat myself. Answer me now, who are you? Unfazed, Xian replied coolly. I heard you've been rotting here, yet you still have some teeth left. Hearing that familiar, arrogant tone, the man froze. That voice, no, it couldn't possibly be. Xian smirked mockingly. The domain's sole iron mage, reduced to a caged animal. How pathetic. Young master, why are you in a place like this? The mage cried out in sheer disbelief. Did you think I'd tolerate a slacker in my territory? Word is, you've been starving yourself. Did Han lock you up for that? Xian leaned in, his eyes searching for a hidden truth. The mage hung his head in shame. It's because of the accident, the giant I caused. It nearly killed you. I only wish to atone for my sins with my life, he whispered, drowning in deep self-loathing. Xian's expression soured. Do you truly believe your life is worth that much? Don't be arrogant. Besides, that giant incident wasn't your fault. The mage still couldn't meet Xian's piercing gaze. If I had been more careful, it wouldn't have happened. The blame lies solely with me. Please, just punish me, he begged, every word heavy with the weight of his regret. Seeing the tension, Philip tried to intervene. Young master, let's go. This place is beneath you. But Xian stayed put, his irritation bubbling over into a cold, sharp and focused anger. Your loyalty is fine, But your stubbornness is a 𝒆𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒆���� thought, speaking with absolute authority. If it's punishment you want, I'll grant it. Philip, hand me your sword. Philip gasped, panic flaring in his eyes. Young master, what are you doing? Yet he obeyed. Sion unsheathed the blade with a chilling ring. You begged for this, didn't you, mage? I'll give you exactly what you deserve. Don't resent me. He raised the steel high. With a flash of silver, the blade swung, not at the man, but shattering his heavy iron chains. The mage gasped as the shackles fell. Young master, what is the meaning of this? You're more useful alive. I'll work you until you're so exhausted you'll pray for death's embrace. Swear your soul to me. As a mage, carve this moment into your heart and serve me forever. Philip, do it now. Sion's voice boomed through the cold stone walls with regal command. As you wish. Philip dropped a heavy sack, and golden coins spilled across the dirty floor. The prisoner stared at the glittering pile in shock. Young master, where did this fortune come from? It's 70,000 pesos. Use it to build a magic tower and buy every grimoire you need. Repair the giants and prepare for war. I'm investing in magic, unlike the fools before me. I want results, not apologies. Don't let me down again, Sion stated with absolute resolve. Overwhelmed by this unexpected mercy, the mage broke down, hot tears streaming into the dust. But I failed you. I don't deserve this kindness, he choked out through his heavy sobs. Sion's face remained a mask of stern resolve. This is your punishment. I do not forgive easily. The gravity of the moment was undeniable. The mage realized his young master had truly awakened. He dropped to one knee, his voice ringing with iron. I am the mage of House Lacan. Until my last breath, my life belongs to you. Hope finally ignited in his weary eyes. Philip stared in absolute awe at the monstrous mana, radiating from the young master. A satisfied smile played on Sion's lips, knowing his dangerous gamble had finally paid off. Though unrefined, that man's iron resilience shall guide us through the coming storm. Issuing his first royal decrees within his new domain, only 2 allies remained. He spoke calmly, unaware that Butler Han was eavesdropping with growing dread. Sion swayed the stubborn mage, yet Han felt a lingering sense of impending doom. To move one so prideful was legendary, yet doubt still clouded Han's heart. The training grounds erupted with Captain Rogers' roar, focus your power from within. The knights shouted in unison, correcting their stance as Philip pushed past his limits. Han watched from the shadows, realizing the ancient family was finally beginning to transform. The lazy Philip was gone, training harder than anyone. Redemption had finally arrived. Mute, once buried in deep shame, now led the new recruits forward. A familiar voice echoed, startling them all. A ghost from the past returned. Lord Dawn, Han gasped as Dixon grinned through the grime. Where have you been? The territory is falling, Han cried out in desperation. Dixon's eyes sparkled, eager to reveal the fruits of his mysterious journey. Sorry for the worry, but seeing is believing. Follow me to the real change. They reached the slums, transformed by Dixon's relentless 1 month of labor. Han froze in disbelief. Could this truly be the same wretched, dying place? Dixon laughed out loud. Behold the new marketplace, where freedom finally breathes. No more chains, the people now decide their own glorious destiny together. Ancient, rotting traditions are finally being dismantled, Dixon spoke with heavy gravity. Is this not true progress? Han remained silent, his entire worldview shattered. 500 years of history were being rewritten right before his eyes. Despite Han's deep reservations, the people were already completely under Sion's spell. 1 week flew by as Han entered the young master's private study. The documents are prepared, Han reported while Sion remained intensely focused. Apologies for the heavy burden, but your loyalty is my greatest weapon. The administration continues tomorrow, just give the word, and I shall execute. You have it backwards, Sion interrupted. Our priorities must shift immediately. The homeless come first. Han's hand trembled as the master's kindness stung. He chose the right path, yet he needed to confirm the master's true heart. That That night, Han followed Xiang into the darkness, toward the forbidden demon castle. Is the Demon King pulling the strings? Suspicion grew like a poisonous shadow. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "You have arrived," as Xiang stepped into the light. "Did you finish the task?" A bearded man smirked. It was easier than breathing. Exiled bandits emerged from the murky shadows, gathering in massive, lethal numbers. They had served their purpose, Xiang smiled, pleased with their newfound efficiency. Let the true plan begin. He reached for his bag, preparing the secret revelation. "What is inside? A treasure or gold?" the outlaws asked with greed. "Indeed it is." Xiang pulled out a single, heavy, ancient book. A book? Han was bewildered. Why give knowledge to common thieves? What is he plotting? The outlaws explained, "We are no longer blind. We understand the difficult parts. Thank you for the summary." Tears of joy fell. "Even the children can read," a woman sobbed. "Thank you, young master. I'm glad to be of service, but remember, everything in this world has a price. Are you truly prepared to pay it?" The leader bowed his head. "We may be bandits, but we aren't ungrateful beasts. Just give the word, and we are yours." Xian's lips curled into a smirk. He emptied his satchel, raining gold coins and mysterious books onto the dusty ground. Han watched in total shock. What was the young master planning with all this wealth and ancient literature? Even the bandits stood frozen. "What is the meaning of this?" they stammered. "The gold we understand, but these books," Xian chuckled. "The answer lies within." A bandit nervously grabbed a document. His eyes widened as he realized these were official residency papers and land deeds. Xian's voice rang out. "These papers grant you the right to own this land. From today, you are official citizens of this territory." He planned to build a sanctuary for them to call home. Upon hearing this, the bandits began to tremble with overwhelming emotion. "We are just low-life deserters," they sobbed. "You've already shown us too much mercy. We don't deserve a gift this precious." The leader shook his head in disbelief. "We stole just to survive another day. How can we possibly accept such a future?" "The commoners will never accept us." Xian looked him in the eye. "I know, and I haven't fully forgiven your crimes either. Pillage is a grave sin that demands a heavy price. However, it was House Lacan that forced you into this darkness. Their neglect is a crime I cannot overlook. Since you haven't spilled innocent blood, I'll grant you a chance at redemption. This gold is your starting capital. From this moment forward, you are no longer outlaws, but my elite mercenaries. Spread terror again, and you'll die on the battlefield. Fight with honor. That is the only way to atone for your past." This was the lifeline Xian offered them. Their fate was now in their own hands. He was placing his final bet on them. The men gripped their blades, their spirits ignited. "Young master, we swear on our lives to protect this land until our last breath." Butler Han watched from the shadows, his knuckles white. By the laws of House Lacan, these men should have been executed. Was everything I believed in a lie? He realized he had turned a blind eye to the suffering of the innocent for too long. "I misread my master's intentions and harbored foul doubts. But now, the truth is finally blindingly clear. Xian is using knowledge to rebuild this broken land. I will devote my soul to serving him and repent for my ignorance." Tears of regret streamed down Han's face. Little did he know, he was dancing right in the palm of Xian's hand. Xian had sensed Han's presence from the very beginning. Every word, every gesture. It was all a perfectly crafted performance. He glanced toward Han's hiding spot and let out a weary sigh. Finally, he's lowered his guard. That old man is truly troublesome. With a casual wave, Xian departed. Han's surveillance had finally ceased. The real work could now begin. At last, he was free to move. That was exhausting. Now that the pawns are in place, let's start the real operation. He reached into his pouch, pulling out a mysterious artifact. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the dark, imposing Demon King's castle. Tiny golems scurried about, scrubbing every inch of the fortress. The situation is stable, but my problems are still miles long. Xian leaned back, lost in thought. Trust was won, but the price of that loyalty was absolutely astronomical. The fortune he amassed in Lamur was almost gone. He desperately needed a permanent and stable source of wealth. A devious smirk played on his lips as a new scheme took shape. He turned his gaze toward two nearby golems. "Hey, you two, how about lending your master a little hand?" His sinister expression sent shivers down their metallic spines. Their mechanical shrieks echoed through the hollow halls. What kind of madness was Sion planning for these poor constructs? The next morning, the sun rose over Sion's study. Philip entered, his face pale as he held the financial report. "Young master, the 21,000 peso from Lamer is gone. I fear we lack the funds to keep this territory afloat." Sion nodded solemnly. "What's our next move?" Philip asked. "Should we return to that area to scrounge up more gold?" Sion paused, his mind racing. Count Mona likely already suspected his involvement with Princess Dua. Returning would be walking into a trap. "Quiet, Philip. I'm not that foolish. Did you bring the development records for the mines like I asked?" Philip stammered, holding a stack of dusty, ancient ledgers. "Sir, these are just records of failed excavations from the last few decades. We've scoured every inch of the territory. There isn't a single trace of any viable mineral deposits anywhere." Sion let out a heavy, frustrated sigh. "How did we end up drowning in debt for such a pathetic gamble?" Philip hesitated. "It was our only hope, sir. Everything collapsed so quickly after the citizens fled. And then you fell into that deep coma." Sion realized they were literally hanging by a rotten thread. "Without a harvest, this land is a graveyard. But why is there not a single mine in this entire region?" Sion's eyes narrowed as he scanned the map intensely. Suddenly, his gaze locked onto a strange, hidden anomaly. "Something's wrong. There are 0 records for this entire sector." Philip's palms start sweating. "That's the Mount Rokia range. It's a death trap crawling with monsters. Every night we sent failed." Sion's eyes light up with pure interest. "So, it's an uncharted territory." Philip smells trouble brewing. "Please tell me you're not planning something insane again." Sion just grins. That mysterious smile sends chills down Philip's spine. "It's too dangerous. If you go, I'm going too." The scene shifts to the jagged peaks of Mount Rokia. Now, Sion understands why the elite knights failed. Philip wasn't just being paranoid. This place is the real deal. Sion mutters under his breath. Before him stands a massive horde of orcs and goblins. They're fully armed and smelling blood. Fascinating. These species usually hunt alone. Why are they suddenly working together like an army? Have you monsters finally organized to hunt humans? Sion wonders as the orcs charge with a roar. The orcs swing their blades with lethal intent. Sion dodges gracefully, but the sheer impact forces him back. Suddenly, smaller creeps surround him. "You think you've won. Know your place, you filthy beasts." Channeling mana into his palms, Sion strikes the earth. He summons massive stone golems to the front. The golems roar to life, smashing into the horde. An orc strikes a golem's head, not a single scratch. Taking advantage of the orc's shock, the golem delivers a devastating gut punch, sending him flying. Watching his summons crush the mob, Sion sits back. This is much easier than he expected. Magic stones are truly a godsend. Despite being outnumbered, the golems are an impenetrable fortress. I see why the knights retreated now. Defeating this swarm is difficult, but for me, it's child's play. Sion's gaze locks onto an orc radiating a murderous pressure. That one. He's clearly the alpha. His aura is quite impressive. Why should the golems have all the fun? Sion activates his physical buffs. With one explosive leap, he vanishes from sight. He reappears directly above the orc chieftain like a god. "I'm in a bit of a hurry. Submit or die." Sion slams his palm down, triggering a brainwashing spell. The monster screams in agony until the magic takes hold. A glowing seal burns into its forehead. "Your leader is now my puppet. The battle is already over." Sion glares at the remaining monsters. "I'll spare your pathetic lives, but only if you bring me every leader in these mountains." Desperate to survive, the monsters obey. They quickly summon their respective chieftains to Sion's feet. One by one, the leaders fall under his control. "Tell me, where do the dwarves hide?" The goblins turn pale with terror, stammering in a tongue Sion can't decipher. He sighs in frustration. Suddenly, the Goblin King kneels. "Please, master, I will personally lead you to that cursed place." Sion smirks, satisfied. Under the goblin's guidance, they reach a cave sealed by massive boulders. "Is this the entrance?" Sion asks. The Goblin King nods frantically, his body trembling with fear. Sion senses something off. This looks like a landslide, but the magical residue tells a different story. What kind of horror lies within to make these monsters shake like leaves? Sion decides to find out. He conjures a sphere of black flame. With a flick of his wrist, the boulders melt into nothingness. A hidden mine door emerges from the steam. Sion laughs. His instincts were right on the money. Seeing the door, the monsters recoil in pure dread. This only fuels Sion's burning curiosity. "You're useless to me inside. Go back, but remember, never harm a human again. Stay hidden until I call for you." Relieved, the monsters vanish into the shadows like ghosts. "They'll make a fine army later. Now let's begin." Sion steps into the dark, silent mine. His mind drifts to ancient memories, back when humans used their power to enslave every other race. The world prayed for humanity's downfall. That's when the Demon King arose and burned their kingdoms to ash. To the oppressed, he wasn't a monster. He was their legendary savior, their only hope. 500 years ago, inside the demon palace, a nameless orc stood before the great king. "So, less than 1,000 of your kind remain." Sion's voice is calm, yet laced with hidden sorrow. The orc's silence says everything. The agony in his eyes is unbearable. Sion makes a fateful decision. With absolute authority, he ordered his demon servant to establish a secret base within enemy territory immediately. "I obey, master," the demon bowed in total submission. Seeing such devotion, the orc was moved to tears. Sion ignored the sentiment. As soon as the task was assigned, he pivoted toward the next objective with resolve. "Who remains?" Silence filled the room. Then a figure stepped forward, radiating an aura of supreme confidence. "I suppose I'm the final guest." The visitor spoke casually. His presence commanded the attention of everyone inside. "Is it wise to make an old man wait this long?" A dwarf emerged, stroking his legendary beard. He appeared completely at ease, unlike the tense atmosphere. He sat down beside the boiling demon subordinate. "How dare you act so insolently before the Demon King?" The servant's rage erupted at the dwarf's tone. "Stand down. It's fine." Sion's voice was eerily calm, instantly silencing the room with his overwhelming authority. "To think a master craftsman of the dwarf race would seek me out. Their legendary technology is unrivaled." "An ancient dwarf." Sion sensed a massive, ancient energy radiating from the old man. His interest was piqued. "Ha ha ha, sharp eyes, boy," the dwarf laughed. "I didn't think a human could see through me so easily." "Why are you here?" Sion questioned, his eyes narrowing. Dwarves rarely associate themselves with the human world. "Humans, they are parasites." The dwarf's voice turned bitter. "They destroy nature and rot the world's ecosystems." Sion smiled, seeing the dwarf's burning hatred. "So, you want my help to wipe them all away?" "Precisely. Clear the path, and I'll use our ancient technology to turn your base into an impregnable fortress." Sion burst into laughter. The irony of the situation was too delicious to ignore. "You realize I am a human too, right? Why help me?" The dwarf didn't even hesitate. "Ha ha ha, you, a human, don't joke. You are the great Demon King, that is all that matters." Returning to reality, Sion stood before the great mine. The dwarf's intel was perfect. Despite centuries of neglect, the structure was flawless. Dwarven craftsmanship truly is a miracle of engineering. Sion surveyed the vast veins of ore hidden within the cavern. A satisfied smirk played on his lips. "With these resources, my territory's wealth is guaranteed. As long as I have miners, poverty is over." But something felt off. What could possibly terrify the local monsters enough to make them avoid this treasure? "Strange. Construction halted after my death. Why would humans abandon a gold mine like this without a fight?" Valuable tools were left scattered everywhere. Dwarves never abandon their crafts. Something is very wrong here. Xian frowned. His instincts screamed danger. This place wasn't abandoned, it was occupied. Suddenly, the earth groaned. A violent tremor shook the cavern walls, sending dust and stones cascading down. A massive, crimson shadow erupted from the ground. The sheer pressure of its arrival was suffocating. Xian froze, his torch clattering to the floor. For the first time, shock was etched across his face. I finally understand why the monsters fled. A legendary beast had claimed this mine as its nest. A giant red worm emerged. Its body was encrusted with crystals, its fangs dripping with ancient malice. The true master of the mine had awakened. Instead of fear, Xian felt a rush of pure adrenaline. "So you're the one squatting in my mine?" Xian's voice dripped with amusement. "What a bothersome pest." "Begone," Mana swirled around his hands. "Golems, rise and crush this oversized insect." Forward, two massive stone guardians materialized, charging toward the beast with ground-shaking momentum. The red worm recoiled before launching itself forward with the speed of a lightning strike. The golems slammed into it, using their immense weight to pin the thrashing monster against the wall. Xian leaped into the air, mana condensing into a lethal point. Time to end this annoyance. Dark fire! A blast of black flames struck the worm's head, triggering a massive, earth-shattering explosion. "That should keep it quiet," Xian muttered, landing gracefully. He expected nothing but ash to remain. As the smoke cleared, Xian's confidence wavered. The beast stood there, completely unscathed by his magic. "My magic has weakened, but this, not a single scratch on its crimson hide. Impossible." A cold realization hit him. This creature wasn't just a monster, it was something far more dangerous. Enraged, the red worm roared, tossing the heavy golems aside like they were made of paper. Its massive fangs gaped wide, ready to swallow Xian. Pure aggression filled its every move. Seeing their master in peril, the golems charged. One latched onto the worm's colossal frame. Heavy iron fists rained down, slamming the beast into the earth with a thunderous crash. The cave shook. Xian praised his loyal summons for their perfect coordination and timing. But the celebration ended quickly. White smoke billowed from its nostrils, a sign of pure rage. "Look out!" Xian screamed. Suddenly, a golem was sent flying by the worm's devastating counter. The monster devoured nearby minerals, its hunger insatiable. Glowing ores began manifesting on its head. Xian stood frozen. This beast evolves by eating minerals. This was worse than he imagined. Anxiety flared. Where did this thing come from? My skills aren't even scratching its hide. To win this battle, he needed to summon a true giant. His current power wasn't enough. Determined, Xian dashed forward, but a massive boulder crashed down, sealing his only escape route. "Damn it, I'm trapped." Forced into a corner, he turned to face the berserk predator again. The tension was suffocating. Every second felt like an eternity against such a monstrous defense. "This is tougher than I thought," he muttered, desperately searching for any sign of a weakness. He analyzed the situation. A beast this size would leave tracks outside. It must stay underground. If it's a mind-dweller, his giant summons would be too big for these narrow tunnels. He had to find its weak spot himself. A grim smile appeared as he focused his senses. His golems acted as a distraction, while Xian looked for a way to end this nightmare. As a golem struck the head ore, Xian felt it. The mana flow, it flickered right there. That was it. The solution finally appeared. A spark of hope ignited in his determined eyes. "Buy me some time," he commanded. "There has to be a specific tool hidden nearby." He scanned the debris frantically. Where was it? The urgency was visible in his every movement. There, buried in the rubble, he spotted his salvation, a legendary tool of the mountain masters. A dwarven pickaxe. With this, I can crack that shell. Excitement surged through his entire body. Grabbing the tool, he activated physical enhancement magic and lunged toward the monster's crown. "Nothing can withstand this strike," he cried out, his voice ringing with absolute confidence. With all his might, he drove the pickaxe into the largest ore. The worm shrieked painfully. The violent thrashing nearly threw him off. Vertigo washed over him as his vision began blurring. Not enough power, he gasped. Before he could recover, he was hurled violently to the ground. Meanwhile, at the Lacan estate, Philip faced a grim interrogation led by the stern butler, Han. Fury burned in their eyes. "Philip, how could the young master vanish during the night?" Philip offered a helpless plea. "I tried to follow, but he disappears like a phantom." Rumors suggested the young master was visiting the Forbidden Castle, the home of the Demon King. Roger's anger softened into a heavy sigh. The weight of the situation finally became clear. "I was blind to the truth," Roger admitted. "Now I understand why Han was so worried." Han's voice rang out, calm and resolute. "Don't worry, I have placed my faith in him. He's fighting for our people's future." Back in the cave, Xian gathered his remaining mana. Dark flames danced in his palms. He was preparing the forbidden art of hellfire one last time. "It's now or never," he whispered. "Take everything I've got and burn in hell, you monster." A massive sphere of black fire exploded against the worm's head, rocking the entire cavern. As the smoke cleared, Xian's body went limp. Total exhaustion had finally claimed the young warrior. Thankfully, his golems caught him. "That was way too much for me," he wheezed weakly. The giant worm finally slumped over, defeated. The grueling battle had reached its violent conclusion. "At least we saved on labor costs," Xian joked, watching his golems harvest the precious ores. While surveying the area, he discovered something chilling: the ancient remains of a fallen dwarven miner. Crouched in the shadows, his eyes gleamed with intense curiosity. These were rare dwarven remains, surrounded by shattered relics of ancient armor. They had perished defending their legacy until the very end. The sight stirred a heavy, bittersweet emotion within his heart. With steady hands, Xian dug a small grave to lay the warrior to rest. "This should be enough. Now find your peace. Leave your burdens behind. Though I claim your treasures, know that I hold no ill intent toward your noble spirit." A faint smile graced his lips as he gazed at the mysterious bracelet. Night faded, ushering in a brand new dawn. Having cleared the depths, Xian delivered the news to his clan. His voice carried an uncharacteristic weight of genuine excitement. "A hidden mine. You actually found it." Dixon's face contorted in pure disbelief as he scanned the official report. Captain Roger stepped forward, nodding firmly with a grin. "It is true. I've personally inspected the site. It's a literal gold mine. Most importantly, the monsters are gone." Don exhaled deeply, a massive weight finally lifting from his weary shoulders. The territory's financial ruin was finally over. Now, they only needed the right equipment to begin the grand extraction. Yet Han the butler stared at the report with lingering doubt. Something felt too perfect, too suspiciously orchestrated. The tunnels were organized as if prepared specifically for them. With enough men, the profits would be astronomical. While the others buzzed with frantic energy, Xian sat quietly, content to let the loyal retainers handle the logistics. Prosperity was finally within reach for the estate. Secretly, Xian knew the monsters were just herded deeper into the mountains. If the army ever faltered, he would turn those beasts into his own personal, unstoppable legion of destruction. "Young master, this miracle is all you're doing," Han whispered, snapping Xian out of his dark, calculating contemplations. Xian didn't crave the spotlight. "It wasn't just me," he replied humbly. "This was a victory for everyone's hard work. But listen well, if you grow complacent, we will lose everything. Constant vigilance is our only shield." His gaze suddenly sharpened, turning mysterious. "Actually, I have one specific request to make of you all." "Speak, and it shall be done," Han replied instantly, his voice dripping with unwavering, ironclad loyalty. "I plan to depart the territory for a while. Can I trust you to hold the fort?" Xian asked calmly. The room went silent. Panic and worry flashed in their eyes. "Depart? But where could you possibly be going?" Xian gestured toward Philip to explain. Philip's voice climbed an octave, vibrating with sheer, unbridled hype. The young master is going to acquire a titan, and as an expert, I'll be the one maintaining it. Before he could finish, Roger shoved him aside. His eyes burned with a competitive, protective fire toward Xian. Ignore him. I shall accompany the young master to ensure his absolute safety on this dangerous journey. Not to be outdone, the mage Mai chimed in. A titan, you say? As an iron mage, my support is mandatory. Hey, stop looking down on me, Philip cried out, his voice a mix of frustration and comical despair. The debate finally settled as the sun climbed higher. The travel party was set, Philip and Captain Roger. Inside the carriage, their resolve was palpable. Philip looked like a child on Christmas, unable to sit still. Are you really that excited? Xian asked, amused. Philip's eyes practically turned into stars as he nodded. A titan, my lifelong dream is finally coming true. He clenched his fists, shaking with pure, raw adrenaline. Xian tilted his head in confusion. Aren't there already titans in our territory? Philip's face fell into deep offense. Those are mere toys, young master. A true titan is a masterpiece of engineering, a god of the battlefield. From the driver's seat, Roger groaned. Enough with your senseless rambling. Keep your head in reality for once. He threw a sharp, warning glare back at Philip, instantly turning the young man into a silent, trembling mess. Keep quiet. If you weren't a knight, you'd be the one out here pulling these damn heavy reins. Roger's stern voice echoed. Xian felt relieved that someone was finally able to shut Philip's loud mouth. Finally, some peace, or so he thought. Suddenly, a thunderous mechanical roar erupted from the path ahead. The horses shrieked in terror, their hooves thrashing wildly. Xian's brow furrowed in sudden, sharp annoyance. Forgive me, young master. A massive iron train has unexpectedly blocked our entire path, Roger shouted in shock. Xian stepped out, his breath catching. Before him stood a colossal, steam-belching beast made of pure metal. A train, I've never seen such a thing, he whispered, his eyes wide with genuine, rare wonder. Roger explained it was a high-tech marvel, far more powerful and expensive than any carriage in existence. Watching the iron giant roar, a new ambition sparked in Xian's eyes. He definitely had to get one. Xiang stared at the train, his eyes gleaming with genuine curiosity. Maybe he should buy one too. As the group marveled at the machine, a smooth, overly friendly voice echoed from behind them. Pardon me, but is this your first time seeing a train? The speaker appeared suddenly, a sharp-looking man. He dressed like a merchant, flanked by two vicious hounds with predatory eyes. Captain Roger immediately tensed up. Narrowing his eyes, Roger demanded to know their identity. We are simple traders from the Sage Merchant Guild. The man chirped, claiming they traveled to buy property. Xiang just shook his head, completely unconvinced. I have never heard of such a guild. The man laughed off the cold response, claiming they were new. Soon, everyone will know the sage name. Just watch us. Xiang's face, however, remained a mask of pure skepticism. Is that so? He replied flatly. Sensing something, the merchant eyed him greedily, asking if he was a lord. Xiang felt the trap. Instead of answering, he countered. Why exactly are you asking me that? We have never met. The merchant smiled thinly, saying it was just business to network with powerful nobles. Are you perhaps the head of a rising house? Xiang's voice turned icy, his patience clearly wearing thin. My family is not the famous type you are looking for. At his sharp dismissal, the merchant's gaze darkened. Disappointment flickered in his eyes before the fake smile returned. Ha ha, my apologies for the intrusion then. It is fine, we are busy. Xiang walked away coldly, leaving the merchant bowing with a deceptive grin. As soon as the carriage vanished, the merchant's friendly facade shattered into something truly sinister. Cruelty bled into his expression. Master Tio, a brute muttered. Tio nodded, his eyes dancing with murderous intent. Yes, that is the young Lord of Lacan. I expected to find him at his estate, not here. This makes things so much easier. By nightfall, Philip voiced his lingering doubts over their dinner. Those men this morning, did they not look like mercenaries? Captain Roger nodded, his tone heavy with caution. Exactly. No rookie merchant could ever afford a private train. 𝒉𝒈 listened, his mind racing with worry. It was not just the men. He sensed a faint, unsettling mana leaking from the train's cargo. Even suppressed, that specific mana signature was unmistakable. Were they transporting something dangerous? Suddenly, the rustle of leaves snapped them to attention. Philip's hand flew to his sword. Who is there? A figure stepped from the shadows. It was Tio, his presence sending a wave of shock through the group. Good evening. What a coincidence to meet again. Meanwhile, 𝒉𝒈 caught a strange, ominous scent in the air. Danger was closing in. They had been traveling in the opposite direction. So why were they here now? What is your goal? 𝒉𝒈 demanded. Tio just smirked, claiming they had unfinished business nearby. We saw your fire and thought we would join you, but Tio's invitation felt like a poisonous trap. Did he really think he could fool 𝒉𝒈? I do not mind, but what about your hidden friends? There will not be enough room for everyone. 𝒉𝒈's eyes darted to the dark figures lurking behind Tio. Cloaked figures stood ready like hungry ghosts. Realizing his cover was blown, Tio's mask finally dropped. I underestimated you, Lord Lacken. You truly have sharp instincts for such a young brat. Do not take it personally, it is just business. Now prepare to die right here, young lord. He sneered as his killers drew their blades, lunging forward. Philip and Roger countered instantly. Their swords clashed in a desperate dance. Protect the young master, Philip roared, his rage boiling over. You bastards dare touch House Lacken. Stay behind me, my lord. We will shield you with our lives. The number of enemies was staggering. This was not a random raid. It was a meticulously planned assassination. They blocked every strike with professional precision. If this fight dragged on, the group was doomed. As 𝒉𝒈 calculated their escape, a masked killer ghosted behind him, raising a lethal blade. The strike was blindingly fast, nearly invisible, but Roger's protective reflexes were even faster. He parried the death blow, sending the assassin flying back dozens of meters with sheer force. These are true professionals. The assassin landed gracefully, his sword still humming from the impact. My lord, are you hurt? I am fine. 𝒉𝒈 realized then that these were no ordinary thugs. To bypass Roger's defense, these men were elite knights disguised as shadows. That cunning merchant didn't flinch. Even facing the king's legendary martial arts, his arrogance remained unshaken and chillingly calm. With a mocking sneer, he signaled his hidden ace. Suddenly, a terrifying shadow surged from the abyss, swallowing the world in darkness. A gargantuan mechanical titan lunged at the crowd. 𝒉𝒈's eyes narrowed as he sensed the malice. It was a killing machine of pure destruction. He recognized it instantly. Zen, the legendary Gundam. With no other choice, the reincarnated Demon King prepared to unleash his true, hidden power. Close your eyes, 𝒉𝒈 roared to his guards. In that moment, a primordial energy erupted from his palm, blinding the entire battlefield. Radiant light shattered the oppressive silence. Like a bolt of divine lightning, 𝒉𝒈 hurled the concentrated solar flare forward. The energy flared with overwhelming, absolute brilliance. Even those who looked away were blinded by the sheer magnitude of his inner aura. Knowing this was only a distraction, 𝒉𝒈 acted fast. Retreat now while they're blinded, he commanded. They vanished before the enemy could even blink. By the time the vision cleared, they were gone. 𝒉𝒈's group was already a speck on the horizon. The pursuit was now completely futile. Their eyes were scorched and their pride shattered. The merchant's face contorted with a venomous rage as his grand plan turned to ash. He swore a blood oath of 1,000-fold revenge. Meanwhile, 𝒉𝒈's team pushed their limits, fleeing through the treacherous, dense wilderness. Philip and Roger marveled at that mysterious power, but 𝒉𝒈 remained grim, his senses heightened. Don't slow down, they're still hunting us. Assassins were lurking in the shadows behind them. Only the thick forest canopy offered a slim chance. On open ground, they would be slaughtered. But these killers possessed supernatural agility. They moved through the trees like lethal phantoms, closing the gap in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, their path was violently cut off. They were cornered faster than anyone expected, yet the enemy's numbers had been halved. Philip and Roger didn't hesitate for a second. Drawing their steel, they took a lethal stance. They were ready to bathe their blades in blood. With a single, devastating strike, one foe fell. The brutal display of power was terrifying to behold. The remaining assassins began to waver in fear. Elsewhere, a hellish inferno consumed the city. The grand architecture crumbled into burning ruins as the old butler watched in absolute despair. "We must flee, my lady," he cried out. He ignored her heart-wrenching sobs of grief and dragged her away from the collapsing palace. He fought through the chaos toward the safe zone. By dawn, the once glorious capital was nothing more than a graveyard of embers. The air was thick with the cries of orphans. Desperate pleas for lost family members echoed through the scorched and broken streets. Her heart shattered into a million jagged pieces. But then, the architect of this nightmare appeared. The devil himself had finally stepped forward. It was Mona, wearing a sickening, arrogant grin. He claimed it was destiny that they met while he was supposedly practicing his blade. Despite the butler's fury, Mona simply laughed. He blamed the entire massacre on her defiance. "This tragedy is your fault," he mocked. His shamelessness ignited a fire in her soul. She would never forgive this monster. A vow of eternal vengeance was forged today. That's the end of today's epic chapter. Make sure to like and share for more of this legendary tale.